what's going on, everybody at home? Tim, the one and only child of Mecha here in the amazing Gundam Kitchen here in beautiful Blackwood, New Jersey. With me today is my good friend Justinius Builds, back again.
We know each other in person.
The dynamic duo here. Yeah. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about simple detail. Really easy stuff that a beginner can do, a moderate level builder can do. Super easy stuff to make that part or kit just kind of start to pop. This is definitely the class to watch if you're just starting to customize your kit. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. We're going to do some demos. We're going to show you that here a little bit later. We're going to talk about materials. We're going to talk about tools that you might need or are good to have. And we'll just kind of talk about the theory of what the details are. So, Justin, when I say, or someone says details, you know, somebody says, oh, wow, that model's got great details. What do you think of?
I think a lot of people believe that it just means it has a lot of inner lines, it has a lot of little notches, things moving from the armor, maybe things that are beneath the armor, like the frame and things like that, have a lot of pistons and rivets and things like that you can see. It helps add a visual interest.
Cool. And that's, pretty much what it is. I was thinking about this the other day, kind of in preparation for the class, and the base of what detail is in our type of genre, it's kind of the visual breakup of the monotony of the normal kit. So when you add detail to the kit, it breaks up a boring panel, like an armor panel or something like that. It gives a visual appeal to that particular part or kit that you're customizing. Today we're going to show the class here how to do simple details. You guys can watch at home. Hopefully we're simulcasting both Twitch and YouTube. So we should be good there. So if you're watching right now live, thank you. Ask some questions. We got the chat going. We got our boy Paulie's manning the chat. He'll shout out any questions that you guys may have, and we'll kind of go from there. So we're going to go over here to the bench. We're going to get started on talking about materials and tools, and we'll jump into the demos. Sound good? Awesome. All right, let's do that. Cool. So here we are at the bench. We've got kind of everything laid out. I've brought a myriad of things today. Let's talk about tools first. What's up?
There's an audio issue.
Yeah, they're hearing from the laptop a lot, the typing.
Okay.
They're not hearing you that well.
Oh, not hearing me? Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. Okay.
It might be set to that mic.
They can hear me, but it's not good.
How's that, everybody? Is that good? Let us know in the chat if we're good. Everybody here at the store can hear me. I am speaking, yeah.
Yeah, you sound good right now.
Sound good. Okay, rock and roll. So we're back in the game. All right, so tools, materials, all that good stuff. So let's start off with the really basic stuff first. Now, here at the class, everybody's got a few pieces of plastic strip. Now, this is kind of my collection of plastic strip that I've accumulated over the years. I mean, I got a lot of different strip, right? This stuff right here, when you're customizing a kit, is absolutely crucial in my opinion. This stuff is so great because you can add just stupid tiny details. I mean, this stuff you can get from almost 6.5 millimeters wide down to 0.5 millimeter wide and 1/4 millimeter thin, like super small. And that way you can get like really super tiny details as well, which really accentuate the scale of the kit. So we're going to be using that today to kind of help you with the models and everything. Obviously, as far as tools go, this is crucial here. If you guys have attended my class before, you know that I just praise this thing to no end. This is the Chopper 2, and it is a little expensive. It's probably about $50, $60 on Amazon or some hobby sites and things like that. But this thing is absolutely worth its weight in its gold. I love this thing, and once you do get into customizing, this will revolutionize your workflow, hands down. Hands down. I can't say enough good things about this particular tool. Another thing that's really useful is a good set or a good digital caliper, because you're going to need to measure these plastic strips, because some of them look very, very similar. But when you put them on a model or when you're scratch building and things like that, even just the tiniest little bit, even a 1/4 millimeter can be massive. Because in this scale, that 1/4 millimeter scales up just big time. So based on the scaling alone, you're going to want to double check that you have the right piece with the digital calipers. So these are very, very crucial. Hobby knife, nippers, I've got a few. I really like the Tamiya sharp pointed nippers. Got this pair of Zerons for kind of heavy duty, just general cutting. This is more like your sledgehammer. This is more your scalpel. So keep that in mind. These both serve different purposes. Let's see here. Chisels. Simple details can definitely be achieved without these, but you can get and achieve some stupid nice details with chisels. They are an investment. These are BMC chisels. They also come in a variety of companies. MadWorks is another really great company that makes chisels. MadWorks is a little bit cheaper because they just kind of make the blade rather than the entire tool. I think some people actually have them. Andrew, you brought them? Yeah?
They fit right in a knife handle.
Yeah.
The smaller ones you can put in a regular one. The larger ones would fit in the larger knife handles, and then like the really big ones, they make a handle for it.
Yeah. So those are super nice. I started with BMC, so I'm invested in the ecosystem of BMC, if you will. So that's what I mainly use, and they work really, really great. Let's see, drill bits and stuff to drill. One of these guys right here, this is a tool by the company called Zona. This is just a pin vise. You just hold the wooden ball in your hand, and you've got super dexterity in drilling super fine holes. So if you don't have one of these, absolutely get one. Drill bits in a myriad of sizes. This little set here is the super small drill bits. This ranges from 0.34 millimeter to 0.99 millimeter. So everything in this is under 1 millimeter in diameter, and they all serve different purposes. So this is really useful to have. You can find these types of drill bits pretty much everywhere. I know IRAD, you probably stock some, right? So you can get them here at the kitchen. You can get them online as well.
Not set like that though.
Well, this was this set here. This is a wire gauge drill bit set, and this was about the closest thing that you can get here in the States to a good metric drill bit set. Really good metric drill bit sets here in the States are going to cost you a little bit of money because they're not common, unfortunately. And with the type and scale of model that we use, metric is absolutely preferred. That's what all the parts come in, those sizes, they come in metric. The metal parts that we'll talk about here come in metric sizes, all of that stuff. So metric is a good thing to have. This is about the closest thing that you're going to find to a really nice metric set. And this actually comes, I think there are 60 or so drill bits in here. Yeah, ranging from 12/24 inch I don't know what that is in metric. I didn't bring my cheat sheet today.
What would you scale this bit then?
That looks like 1.5 mil. Yeah, probably 1.5 millimeter. Could be different. I'm just eyeballing it. So here, measure it. That's why having a digital caliper comes in handy too. You can measure your drill bits. Expand it. Thank you, Justin.
Do you open it by hand or?
No, it's motorized. Totally joking about that. Anyway.
Because it's like, it's hitting really, it's hitting from the chopper this way. So if you turn it a little bit outward, you try to get it under the table.
Yeah. So we'll adjust the camera for everybody at home. Is that good?
Yep.
Better? Alright. Then you can see a little bit of adjustment too.
Yep.
So, alright, so drill bits are extremely useful. This set I got on Amazon for probably, I want to say $45. Something. For all these, yeah, and these are high quality, high strength steel drill bits.
Oh, yeah.
If you're just drilling into plastic and resin and stuff like that, you're gonna have to try to break these things. Trust me, these don't break easily. These little ones, on the other hand, break at the drop of a dime. That's why they give you 5 each in this particular set. So, drill bits, very, very useful. Dymo tape. Are you guys using Dymo tape? Everybody? No? You, right? So Dymo tape, this is the embossing Dymo tape. This is the old school stuff. Back in the day when you had the old embossing labeler, the one that went ka-chunk, 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 you know? Some of you young guys would not have a clue what I'm talking about. But there are 2 types of Dymo tape. There's the new type that are that's heat printed. That's super thin. You don't want that because that's not going to give you a good guide to scribe lines with. This stuff right here, this is the embossing stuff. This is thick. You put this down, you can cut this in a myriad of shapes. You can use the chopper to cut this to mark where you want to place your panel lines, your notches, or even your glued on pieces and things like that. You can cut a certain diameter and then you can pick that up and peel it off the piece, put it back down in increments so you can have properly spaced details if that's what you're going for. So very useful stuff. Dymo tape, make sure you get the embossing stuff. Let's see, let's talk about hobby knives, shall we? Hobby knives are very useful, obviously, for a various number of reasons. And they're not all the same. I really like Olfa hobby knives. The yellow handle, you can get these here, and you can get these with the chisel blade as well. It's a nice flat blade, which helps even out details and things like that. This is a really useful tool right here, this chisel blade. I love this thing. You can get this here at the kitchen for a very, very nice price. IRAD has probably some of the best prices on these that I've seen. What's that? I don't know. Yeah, why don't you have one?
No, because
you got the ghetto jobber hobby knife, right?
yeah, and it broke.
And it broke. Yeah. See, there you go. It broke.
It lasted a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me tell you why I don't have this. I bought this.
Dude, I got the same exact one. Exactor knife.
Once I get through these, then I'll buy it.
All right, fair enough. So I got the Olfa utility knife here. This is great for cutting thick sheets of plastic. But the cool thing is that you can also put hobby saws meant for these types of knives in here and get super fine cuts with these things. This is a super useful tool. And if for you guys playing at home, if you live in the States, both of these, the hobby knife and the utility knife, are sold at Lowe's in the tool section at that store. Outside of the States, I can't help you. I don't know. But if you're here, pick it up here at the Gundam Kitchen. If not, pick it up at Lowe's.
Lowe's, not Home Depot.
Yeah, no, not Home Depot. Yeah, Home Depot. Step your game up. Okay.
They had, I think they had $8 on it.
What's that?
Oh, the Home Depot. I think they had like the open utility knife.
Probably,
They didn't
yeah.
have
Yeah,
drawer knife.
yeah. And you can find Olfa stuff in a lot of different places. Craft stores carry a lot of Olfa stuff, like with the sewing and stuff like that, but I've never seen an actual hobby knife or a utility knife in there. What's that? Hobby Lobby? I don't have any Hobby Lobbies around me, but that's actually a good note. Hobby Lobby carries these, so check them out. Another knife that I kind of got hit up on to buying were these little guys here. These are by NT Cutter, and this little blade, I was skeptical at first when I bought it. This is actually very inexpensive, but surprisingly high quality. As you can see, it's super tiny. This blade, compared to the Olfa, is like its little stepson. Like, it's super tiny, right? Yeah. So, really, really tiny stuff. But, you know, it took me a while to get sold on this. I bought it and I let it sit for weeks. But then I just picked it up kind of out of the blue just to test it out and really kind of try to learn to use it. And surprisingly, this little guy is really great for fine and detailed cuts. Just the size of it in your hand, you gain so much dexterity. And the refill packs, you get like 50 blades for like $5. Yeah, and these blades are sharp too. On par with Olfa, and I love Olfa.
How strong are they?
They're pretty damn strong. I've not broken a blade, or I mean, I went through maybe 1 or 2 blades, and that's been like a couple months. You know, I hold on to blades.
What's the retail?
The knife, I think, is like 5 or 6 on Amazon, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I bought it. And the refill blades, like I said, I think they're like $4 or $5. So really quite nice. And they actually also make a couple utility knives too. This is their small metal utility knife, and normally the cutting blade is on this side, right? This side is flat. This flat side is right here is actually the cutting blade. So if you need to cut masks or something like that really finely, or cut a super fine piece of styrene sheet or something like that, really useful, really useful. I don't use it a lot, but it comes in very handy when you need something to fill that bill. So NT Cutter, super nice. You know, myriad of metal rulers. I got this nice little T-square from Wave. I use this thing predominantly. These serve their purpose, but this right here, this little T-square from Wave, I love this thing right here. They make 2 sizes. This is the small one. I also have the big one in here somewhere, but I'm not going to worry about pulling that out. Let's see. This is actually really useful tool. This is a metal protractor. You can also use this to find angles. I've done tutorials on using this thing to find the angles of different bevels, especially if you're using epoxy putty and you need to match that bevel. This is the tool to go to. This is great. So we're probably going to be using all of this stuff today during the demos and during the help section and stuff like that too. These little photo etch saws. This is by Hasegawa. This is their Tri-Tool series. Very nice. This is actually my favorite one here. They come in a bunch of different shapes and sizes. Oh yeah, so this is what, Hobby Mate? Yeah. So Hobby Mate over in Singapore, I think. Hobby Mate, I'm sorry if you're in a different country. I love you. But Hobby Mate in Singapore makes these photo etch saws that are really super nice. Did you get these with the book?
Yep.
Yeah, so I got these, and Justin got these too, with the, what was that? Scratch Build Revolution. Yeah. These came as kind of included freebies, but I think you can buy them on their website and stuff. Oh yeah, love these deals. And they also threw in these. You even kept the paper on the back? Jeez, man. That's awesome. I took mine off. I stripped it. Okay. Anyway, these are acrylic sanding blocks. They come with a double-sided piece of tape, and you just basically stick them down on a piece of sandpaper, cut around it, and you've got a perfectly sized sanding block. You can peel that sandpaper off, reapply. I've done it numerous times with mine. I probably
You do need to be a little careful when you pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, you can replace that with double-sided tape.
I went out and bought double-sided tape.
Yeah. Same thing. But yeah, these included with books and stuff like that you get from HobbyMate. Man, I love these things. If you can't get these exact ones from HobbyMate, if you have a friend that has a laser cutter, you can get these, or if you know some place that cuts acrylic, you can make these. But you don't have to. You can make these out of like 1/8" like MDF that you get at Lowe's or Home Depot and stuff. Same type of thing. MDF is super stable. Just don't get it wet, which I don't think you're gonna wet sand these anyways. But you can make the same exact thing using 1/8" MDF. Just double-sided tape, lay it down on the back side of your sandpaper, cut it out, boom, you got a nice sanding block that will last you at least months with this one piece of sandpaper. Clean it off with a toothbrush every now and then, but yeah, these are absolutely wonderful. So HobbyMate, good call on these. Also these. But getting back to the tri-tool, these come in a lot of different shapes. This is actually my favorite one. This is just kind of a teardrop shape, and it comes in super fine teeth, but then also coarse teeth as well. So very useful there. It's just a saw. You saw with it.
The difference between this and like a big saw is the big saw has width to it.
Yeah.
So where it's tearing away the plastic, it leaves that gap. These ones, it does the same thing.
Yeah,
it's just
super thin.
It's super fine, so you're not losing a lot of material.
Yeah.
They come in different like teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have them right here.
Yeah. So like I said, this side here are very fine teeth. This side is actually opposite. This side is very fine. This side is coarse. So if you really need to make very, very fine cuts, this is kind of the tool to use. The thickness when it comes to saw blades is called the kerf. This is probably about 0.2 millimeter. That's a normal width for photo etch materials. So you have a 0.2 millimeter kerf on this. With something wider, obviously, that kerf is going to be bigger. So good stuff there. All right, so let's talk about detailing materials. We talked about the plastic strip. Let's talk about option parts. Now, who here uses option parts? So just a few. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a new world for some of you, and that's good. That's exciting. Option parts are awesome because they just come on these little kind of plastic runners, and there's just a myriad of different styles of parts that you can get.
Yeah, they're like common details that you find on mechanical things.
Yep.
Might not be present on it, or that you want to add or replace.
Yeah. Or scratch build something. These come in really handy. There are probably two big, well, no, I take that back. Three companies that make detail parts now that are very common. The most common is by Kotobukiya. They're what is it?
MSG,
Model Support Goods. Yeah, MSG, not monosodium glutamate. So these, I mean, these just come in like a stupid big size range of different parts. I mean, you've got
it's like $3 to $5 a pack.
Yeah.
And you'll get one little runner.
Yep. Just this.
There, and
this
the
little
cool
deal.
thing about these is they will tell you on the piece what the measurement is.
Yeah, what the size. Yeah. So like on these, the measurement.
This one is not even.
Yeah. This one actually is probably not good either.
Yeah, minus moles.
Yeah, I got them somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so
That'll tell you.
this is a much
millimeters,
better example. Yeah,
How,
the diameter.
there you go.
Yeah. So it has just like the little kind of the number flap on Bandai kits that tell you what part number it is. These have the little number flaps to tell you the diameter of these particular molds. These are just circular molds that you can apply to your kit or scratch build with them or whatever. And man, they're so insanely useful. I use these all the time with pretty much all the kits that I've ever built. Kotobukiya makes these round circular molds in a ton of different varieties and designs. You've got vents and like panels and stuff. A bunch of those types of looking things in a variety of shapes and sizes. You've got square vents and rectangular vents and stuff. Really good there. You've got kind of thrusters. These are like rectangular looking thruster deals. Justin has a few. What do you got?
I've got.
You got minus molds and stuff?
I've got minus molds.
Oh yeah. See, and they come in big sizes too. Like the biggest one on this particular runner is 10 millimeters in diameter. That's huge. And you're not going to use that.
This is what you're going to get. This costs you $3.
Yeah, let me show it to everybody. So that right there, guys. That's essentially a good example of the MSG, the Modeling Support Goods by Kotobukiya. Very good stuff. Oh yeah, these hooks are interesting. So, drop it. So these are kind of cool. I'm going to show you some of the hooks that I got the photo etch things. But for those of you at home, this is what we're talking about. I got them. Don't worry, I got you covered. All this, this is all metal. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, these are cool too because you can add these as hooks and grab-ons and stuff like that on your model.
You see them a lot on like ground type units.
Yeah.
Or like Gundam.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So.
And you see them on like tanks and stuff.
Yeah. In the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like to airlift like a tank out or something. Yeah, it's a connection point for something like that. So these are cool, man. All of these parts, you can just get stupid with them. Again, these are just plates with little details, little diagonal indents on them and stuff. Really nice. And again, you got a bunch of vents here. Some are round, some are more angular. Just a ton of different options in this option part line. So these are by Kotobukiya. This is the predominant company that makes a majority of them. You can also find some from Wave, and then obviously Bandai makes their builder's parts as well. The builder's parts are good.
They're not as good.
Yeah, I have to agree. They're not as good. You have the plates here?
Yes.
Just the plate? Yeah. So
they're more fitted for Bandai kits, pretty much.
Yeah, and they're bigger scale too. You know, like some of these are just.
They're all scaled to work with Bandai kits.
Yeah.
And
so
it looks like you're getting more, and that might be untrue.
Yeah.
Like with this one, it's a 2-part. So like you have to use this in conjunction with this.
Yeah.
But it's customizable, so that's an advantage. I think this is the best one in there.
I was gonna say I like that radome. I haven't seen that in person.
Yeah, I think the radome set is the best one they made. This one's pretty good too. The fuel tanks.
Yeah.
But,
I like the missile launcher.
Yeah.
With the sword that comes with the sword.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the
legit.
missiles, and it comes with grenades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wish they were doing more of them, but they
I know,
seem to
right?
stop.
But the cool thing about Kotobukiya is they also make weapon sets. Like a large amount of customizable weapon sets that you can add to your kits and everything. And
they have 2 lines of weapon sets.
Yeah.
There's the regular ones, which are usually based on like real world weapons.
Yeah.
Or like fantasy swords and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
And then there's the larger sets, which is almost its own kit.
Yeah.
And every weapon that comes in the large kit are modular.
Yeah.
You'll get like 2 or 3 different handles, 2 or 3 different barrels, 2 or 3 different scopes and different things like that. And you can really make it your own weapon.
Right. And some of them, oh yeah, perfect. Here's a great example. Here's yours. This is a great example of the weapon sets. Like, for those of you at home, these are Kotobukiya weapon sets. This one is more like a fantasy sword. This one has just a ton of different knives and stuff. Again, you can just get really creative with these types of things, and these add major detail to your kits.
Are those ones on 100 scale?
No. Most of the modeling support goods are catered toward the frame arms line,
Okay, that's
which, depending,
It's closer to high grade.
yeah.
You basically have to eyeball.
Yeah, you do have to
I
eyeball.
think the Kotobukiya hands are scaled.
Some of the hands are scaled. Oh yeah. Look at this thing.
I knew I saw one. Oh yeah, that looks pretty
Yeah,
good.
look at that monster.
And on the back of shooting.
Yeah, that's just, for those of you watching at home. Yeah, this is massive. This rifle, or whatever they want to call it, selector rifle.
And you could probably, I think you could probably make 2 weapons out of that.
Yeah. Realistically, you probably could. And you've got a ton of different barrels to choose from. Different detail parts and a grip.
Turn into an
More like a club. Yeah, for those of you watching at home. Nice. Is that what you do every go? Good on you, Kotobukiya. But yeah, so up here it shows you all of the different parts that you can get in this one kit, right? And they sell just a ton of these. There's a massive amount of these types of,
This is number,
what's that? 15, yeah. And they probably go up to 20 or 30 at this point.
I think this will be
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that if you buy these, all of these sets are cross-compatible.
Yeah.
If you buy set number
They're all
1 and you
standard
buy
size.
this set, you can plug set parts from set number 1 into this one without having to think about it.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Exactly. And that's the cool part, is that all of the holes to put the pieces together, standard 3mm sized across the board. And Kotobukiya stuff, if you've not worked with Kotobukiya parts and kits and stuff like that, their molding is the most crisp molding that I've come across personally. Super fine detail that you can get out of these things. Really nice. But again, Wave, Bandai, Kotobukiya, they all make option parts. You can get them here at the kitchen. You can get them online at your favorite retailer, HLJ, Hobby Link, you name it. They probably are going to have it. For me personally, I like Hobby Search, 1999.jp.com, whatever. You'll find it if you do a search on it. They carry pretty much the entire line of all of this stuff, and they normally have an amazing stock level that they carry. So for myself, my vendor of choice is absolutely going to be Hobby Search. I used to shop HLJ, but I just they just don't keep up with the stock levels of certain things as much as Hobby Search does.
I've been mostly seeing less price from a Gundam Kitchen.
Yeah.
Gundam Planet has these certain types of Q-tips. They're like pointed. It works! They got the Q-tips here, I saw them.
Yeah,
they're really fun.
They probably got them here for a better price.
I didn't see them.
They're right here.
Oh yeah, they got them.
Oh,
Iris probably got them for a much better price.
But he just likes to buy. That's okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's okay.
hey, at least they have some kits that you don't. Okay.
Wow.
Means you won't be coming here.
Whoa!
Alright, yeah.
Yeah.
For that. That's one of the things.
But yeah, so I mean, a lot of places carry detail parts and things like that. So those are plastic detail parts. Now, obviously, for those of you who keep up on the modeling genre on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, you'll see some more kind of high-level builders use metal parts and photo etch and things. They're not hard to use. They're just about as difficult to use as plastic parts in reality. And they come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes and things and companies and all that. I really like Haikyuu. This is a company out of Japan, and man, I'm telling you what,
They have the best decals on the market.
they absolutely make the best decals, hands down, that you can get in the world. I don't care who you put up against Haikyuu decals, they are crisp, and even like the smallest lettering, if you put on a pair of these optivisors with the highest magnification, you'll be able to read those things. And I'm talking like a 0.5 millimeter, 1/4 millimeter tall letters. These things are clear. I don't know how they do it, but it's probably some black magic or something like that. But Haikyuu also makes really yeah, right. They
own a shrimp rate. Everybody
yeah.
handwrites everything all day.
They have Smurfs and Oompa Loompas working for them. Yeah. But no, dude, I can't talk enough good about Haikyuu. They carry IRAD's got a bunch of parts here. They make nozzles, metal nozzles that you can customize. They make these little Vulcans, these little gun nozzles that basically you drill out the head of your Gundam or whatever, and you slot these in there. Gives that metallic pop to the models. These are super good. But they make a ton of different style parts too.
These guys, the detail
What's that?
parts, they're like gateless photo etch.
Oh yeah. I'll get
What
to
is it,
those.
like adhesive or something?
You put like a drop of super glue
Yeah.
in the back, or you like a piece of paper,
Yeah.
and you dip it with like a tweezer,
Yeah.
and you put it on the.
Right. Oh no, I mean like on here, like
No.
are they all loose in here?
Oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's like 2 sheets of like saran wrap, basically.
Yeah.
And it just holds them in place.
Yeah, there's like it's almost like a weak adhesive tape that it's stuck to.
So you don't have to trim the part. You just put it-
Most of them, no.
Yeah, they have them where you have to, but here
Yeah.
recently they've kind of gone.
Notoriously in photo etch,
Yeah.
they're in trouble with people like they'll
Yeah.
they're trying to use nipper.
So,
Those
yeah.
have like the finest gates. in
oh,
the universe.
I mean, God, yeah. This
You could look at that wrong and have a good.
yeah. So this is a company that is coming up very quickly in the world. AW Steel Spirit is the line. And when I got these, I just absolutely fell in love with these parts. They make some of the finest photo etch detail in the hobby, and they're coming out with new stuff. It seems like every month. They just came out with new parts
The
to.
one that blew my mind is now they have
The-
photo etch for
the base.
your action base.
Yes.
So
You
got that.
can fold it. It's like a face. And if you've ever
Yeah.
played Metal Gear Solid 5, when you build your own mother base, they've got these areas where it's like a big hexagon, and
Yeah.
they've got these fences so that you don't fall off.
Yeah.
And you can put them on your action bases and make it look like it's a real thing. It's
Yep.
sick.
Yeah.
Mad Workspace too.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Mad
that's
Works.
how you do
Yeah.
that whole thing.
Yeah, but Steel Spirits, I mean, are just great. Like I said, they make a ton of different style photo etch parts.
And it's almost the same realm as the MSG parts. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just common things that you see. The only difference is it's flat detail.
Yeah. It's very fine detail too. Because these are photo etch. These things you're talking again like 0.2
It's
millimeter.
less than a half a millimeter.
Yeah. And they've got things like these metal rings that you can put around minus molds that just give that extra pop of detail. These are really cool. They got these like little wings. You can put these on like a transformable mobile suit, like a Zeta or something like that, or
If you've ever built the double Zeta, it's got those little chest things.
Oh,
You got
yeah.
those chests.
and the new Vercon
the
has
little,
those.
the little
Yeah.
antennas that stick out of the
Yeah.
chest.
So you see that a lot on customized kits nowadays. You see these little, these little directional wings, and they're
I
super
think
small.
I consider them antennas. That's what I think they are.
What
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a fake robot.
Yeah. Johnny, what you got?
Actually, it's sets where they're now making like complete photo sets for specific models.
Oh, yeah.
Like the new Gundam. That's up like it.
Yeah.
Like the first one I saw was the Salvage.
Yep.
There's so many photo part sets that they made like a complete set for it. And now I see One for the new Gundam, one for the high new.
There's one for the GM Sniper.
Yeah,
GM
GM Sniper.
Exactly.
I think that was the first big one that like, took off was the GM Sniper.
Yeah, I
And
think
the
so.
Salvage. There's one for the Sinanju as well.
Yeah, yeah. Those are by what? Who are those by?
I think the Sinanju is by Bono
Yeah, I think
because
all of them.
because he did it first.
Yeah.
And then they mass produced it.
Yeah, because they're a Korean.
John would know if he's watching.
Yeah, they're a Korean company, I think, right? Yeah. But if you look up, what was it, Bono? Not the guy from YouTube.
But I think he likes him, and I think that's where his name came from.
Seriously?
I believe so. I've like gone through his blog posts and like just kind of surfed it, and I believe I've seen some YouTube stuff.
For real?
Posted.
That's not weird.
It's a shame.
Anyway, so that let's see, the Steel Spirit, designed in Japan, but I get them off Taobao, which is like your Chinese version of Amazon. And another great Chinese company is CJ Hobby. They make all sorts of things. These are like replacement pistons. And they've also got their kind of models of Vulcans for the heads and stuff. These are your energy cables for Zaku's and stuff. They make these in a bunch of different sizes. Steel spikes for Zaku's shoulders and stuff. And then they make your vernier, your thruster bells and stuff like that. What I really like are kind of the straight ones like this. They're not like a true bell. They're more like a cylindrical tube. They're a little rounded at the top, but these are actually really, really nice. I really like these. And then also they got your metal minus molds.
What's that?
What's this?
Minus molds.
It's
Your
like
small.
a rivet with a detail in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your small circular detail,
Yeah,
like this. What's that?
Can't look at that.
Yeah. There you go. So minus molds is kind of a general term for circular detail. Originally, a minus mold was just a circular detail with a minus sign, basically, engraved in it. That's why they called it a minus mold. And that name is kind of synonymous for most circular detail parts nowadays, and they come in a ton of different looking varieties and stuff too. So, one of the other things that I like to utilize in terms of steel parts, surprisingly, safety pins.
Yeah.
Actually, sewing pins. I take that back. Sewing pins. You can get these in a bunch of different sizes. For like 500 of these pins, you spend like $2 or $3 at a craft store. And I'm going to show you how to use these here in a minute because these are great. Because you can pop these into a corner of a armor piece and just make it come alive. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So I'll show you how to use those in a minute once we start the demos and stuff. What else? Your glues, your tapes, things like that. You can also utilize spare parts too. I like to use these a lot. I never throw parts away. Sometimes I will scrap a full kit just to pull parts from it.
I'm doing that today.
Are you doing
I'm buying a kit for the head.
Oh hell! Yeah.
I got a Victory Gundam from Victory 2 from high grade version.
Yeah, there you go.
I could probably bring it in someday.
So what I'll do is I'll buy like high grade kits and just cut them up, use them for parts, the whole nine, because they're cheap. But because they're a smaller scale part, they fit really nicely on a 1/100 scale model as a detail piece, which is super nice. So like I did the Ozymandias last year, and so I've got a ton of parts from the Sinanju that I used as a base, but I also have a ton of parts, say from the Grimgird that I used because I used the shoulders and a bunch of other parts on that. So I got a ton of parts there. I've got parts in here from a Zeta, from an old 1.0 Sazabi, things like that. No, Wing Zero Custom. Wing zero count.
160?
Yeah, 160 is scale. Perfect grade. So yeah, so keep your parts, your extra parts that you always have left over on runners, because those will come in really, really handy. And if you do happen to scrap a kit, don't throw it away. Keep that thing. Keep it in a box.
Absolute worst case scenario, you have kit bashing material.
Exactly. Or like a destroyed robot for a diorama or something. Yeah, exactly. So what I like to do is get these little divider boxes here, and if you guys have been to the class, I'm sure you've probably seen these before, but for those of you at home, I will sort extra parts kind of in a hierarchy, if you will. So like these in here are usually smaller parts that I want to hold on to. I've got a couple Zeta Plus heads, a Zeta head, some beam sabers, and a bunch of vents and other. What's that? No, that's a. They're both Zeta Plus.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
I saw a cluster head. I'm like,
Nah. So so these little boxes here are really great. And I've got a ton of parts in here. These are all leftover parts from the Ozymandias build. So as you can see, you got the side leg boosters from the Sinanju in here. The upper arm, some of the skirt detail. You've got parts of the Sazabi 1.0 in here, the Grim Gird, all that. I've got all that saved because that's all good detail parts. Same thing with this bin here. And then, I've got this like tackle box, this kind of like crafty box that has separators and stuff. Again, full of kind of bigger parts that I can use on future projects. I got shields in here, I got rifles, I got weapons, I've got scratch built stuff, skirts. These things are awesome. It's not the gap plate. It's the one with that big giant green booster. They made a Titans version of it too. For those of you at home, and help me answer that, they made, what's that? God Plant, thank you. Andrew for the win. So I bought 3 copies of the God Plant, the standard God Plant. And I didn't buy them for these, but this is just an extra added fringe benefit. This right here, this stupid shaped little triangular vent, is just so unique in the kind of genre that I just, I cut them out and I put them in this box so I wouldn't lose them. Same thing with a bunch of parts in here. I've got hands, I've got chest pieces, I've got leg pieces, I've got all sorts of dumb stuff in here. So extra parts and scrap parts, and even if you buy a kit, just a cheap kit to get extra pieces from, save them and put them in these boxes. Save them for a rainy day. They'll come in real handy for future use. So another really helpful thing, and this is the last thing that we're going to take a look at in terms of tools and stuff like that, super glue. This is your best friend when it comes to gluing on metal parts, photo etch detail, doing super quick scratch builds. I'm going to be using a lot of this today because we're going to be working fast. Normally you want to use the Tamiya Extra Thin or something akin to it, but for today I'm going to use super glue. Really good stuff. Yes, sir. Is that the long cure, the slow? What's that?
Ultra gel.
That's the gel.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the ultra liquid control. This is the thinner stuff. This is my, for those of you at home, this is Loctite ultra liquid control. This is my super glue of choice.
yeah, it's really good.
Because normal super glue can become brittle. This stuff, it definitely can become brittle, but not as brittle as most. This is definitely one of the least brittle super glues that I've personally used. And when I'm laminating pieces, like laying down big swaths of sheet, you do not, under any circumstances, want to put Tamiya Extra Thin on a plate like this big, because in the middle here, this will never dry. It'll stay gummy under there. It might dry in a few years, but it won't dry anytime soon. So by using super glue, that will hold that big plate on a piece just as good, if not better, than Tamiya Extra Thin. just because of the qualities of super
But will
glue.
it fill the gap?
What's that?
But will it fill the gap?
Yeah, you can use this to fill gaps.
The only real difference between super glue and modeling cement is this is like liquid tape.
Yeah.
It's going to hold your pieces together.
Yeah.
This is going to melt your two pieces together and make them one.
I mean, that's what I would want to do. I want to melt my pieces together with this.
So it depends on what you're doing. If you're
Yeah.
like when you're ready to glue something on, this is fine. You can use this.
Yeah.
But you can't use this for certain things. This only works this only works on plastic.
Yeah.
This will work on anything.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
It resin and probably that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Alex?
What do you use if you're dealing with a food color?
Hmm.
I know
Wait,
there's Zappagat, I think.
Yeah.
Now Zappagat does have CA glue that doesn't fall,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's usually probably the best to play it safe and just use.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still water based. You can clean it up.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah. I don't.
It's not gonna mess your paint up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And it's not gonna, and it's not. You don't have to worry about if it gets on your model. It's
Mhm.
easy to get off the model
Yeah.
without damaging it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't deal with a lot of clear parts
That's what I'm
myself,
saying, like-
visors and stuff, maybe, but
All I can think of is visors.
yeah, and usually I don't even glue those in. I just pressure fit those things in because why even take a chance at that point?
I think I'd want help using some cement
Yeah.
to melt these pieces together because these come apart.
Yeah.
They're just like an annoyance, basically.
Well, yeah. If you're combining two pieces together, like on a seam, yeah, you absolutely want to use this to melt that plastic together. Because
you can use super glue, but it's harder to sand.
Yeah.
it is harder to sand, and it doesn't have that directional strength. So what is it? Shit, I don't know the terminology very well, but if you glue it down like this, its strength, super glue's strength is pulling this way, or this way with big parts like this. You'll probably never get that off. But if you try to glue two pieces like this, at like kind of a butt joint almost, that super glue will probably break and snap inside of a minute or two. That's why you use this to actually melt these pieces together and make them one. This is stronger, for that particular purpose. So these serve different types of purposes. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we've covered materials, we've covered tools and stuff like that. Let's get into some demos, shall we? All right, so first thing, we're going to start off fairly easy, and we'll kind of work our way from there. So if you guys want to come on over, gather around the table. For those of you at home, any questions that we have?
Yeah, well, actually, we just got the first one, and it says,
cool, okay.
"Hi, there's a beginner here. It is Cyril Hadi."
Okay.
And Cyril wants to know, he says, "Hi, beginner here.
Okay.
I cover seam lines, but there's still white line along the seam on my dark plastic.
Okay.
What am I supposed to sand down? Am I supposed to sand down further? I don't paint my kits."
That's hard.
That's your problem.
Yeah, that's
It sounds like it's stress.
yeah.
Yeah. That's the first time I got
Yeah.
cross marks.
Yeah, if you're seam lining, if you're sealing seams and you're not painting, it's always going to be difficult to hide those seams and hide those stress marks.
The best tip I can give you probably progressive sanding.
Yeah.
Start with a
Yeah.
low grit sandpaper.
Yep.
For example, you probably don't need anything lower than a 600 or a 400.
Yeah.
And then work your way up to like 1,000. Polish it out.
Yep.
It'll be nice and shiny, nice and smooth.
Wet sand it, lower.
But work your way up to higher grits. Don't jump from 600 to 1,000
Yeah.
to 2,000. Work your way up, and it should. I mean, you might just have gunk within like a panel line.
Yeah. I mean, if
You
you're
got to polish it up too, probably.
Yeah.
You can polish plastic.
Yeah, to me it makes 3 different types of polishing compounds. What is it? Coarse, fine, and then super fine. And they're just polishing compounds like you would polish a car or something like that. So yeah, that's what some people will use that. But yeah, if you're not painting your kit, it's gonna always be tough. So
You could also try there's a Gundam marker in a similar color, run
Yeah,
it down that
yeah.
spot and then kind of blend it in.
Yeah, you could spot paint.
Spot paint and just like sand it back down, sand it out again. Probably
Yeah,
makes it dry.
yeah,
It'll
that
match
could
up.
work. Yeah.
And then last but not least is kind of what we're here doing. Hey, if you can't get the seam line out and you can't get rid of cover it with a panel.
Yeah, cover it with some sort of detail or something like that,
Like
and
a
then
fake panel line.
yeah, and then you can just spot paint the little pieces and stuff like that. So those are all kind of good suggestions there. All right, so real quick, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use these guys right here. These are safety pins. These are awesome. This is an old scrapped shield from a GM Type C Master Grade.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to place, and I'm not going to do this for the whole thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to place some kind of in the corners, just to kind of simulate those kind of bolts, if you will. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to need a pencil. Let's find my pencil.
I think the screws would be better in the chest. Show you real quick.
So what we want to do is we want to mark our spot, right? So just in general, the first spot, it really doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with. So right about there seems pretty good. I'm not being super accurate right now, but if you want these to match all around the piece, you probably want to be super accurate. So you want to, you pull out your ruler and you measure from one side. That's probably 2 mil from the bevel and 2 mil from the bottom. So that's actually pretty square. So I was kind of dead on. So, I know, never did that happen again. So what happens is these come in. I got them in 2 different sizes. Tweezers. There we go. Pull these out because I don't want to stick my hand in there. Yeah, right. Maybe if I'm drunk. So again, these are really kind of tiny. This is the larger one, and then they've got smaller ones here. And what we're looking for is just the head of the pin itself. We're not looking for the shaft or the needle or anything like that. We're just looking for the head because that's where the detail is. So, so small. So again, these come in 2 different sizes, small and large, and they serve different purposes. The smaller one is good for tighter, smaller pieces that you want to add detail to. The bigger one is for larger pieces that you maybe don't have as much. This is going to draw your eye to that particular detail. So this size, the bigger one looks probably pretty good for that spot. So what we do, we take our digital caliper and we measure the shaft width. Get that back into millimeters. So that's a 0.63 millimeter shaft. So first thing we have to do is drill a hole to fit that shaft size. So we pull out the teeny tiny drill bits here and we look for 0.63 or something close to it. 0.64, perfect. That will give us a little bit of wiggle room just in case. So pull that out and we get our device here. And we need a new collet for that. No. Alright, so we get the smallest collet that there is, the 0. Let's change that out real quick. And different collet sizes are really super useful to have too, with the different drill bit sizes and things. So, as you guys can see, there are 5 teeny tiny drill bits here. Yeah, so that's your drill bit right there. The size, literally the size of that pin. So that's what we're going to be drilling with. Try not to get.
Yeah, because like I had one and then I broke it and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to be. You do have to be super careful. Yeah, and these you don't want to have them stick out like a crazy long amount. You want to pop them in there as pretty much as deep as they will go into the pin vise. So as you can see, I have what maybe 10 millimeter 8mm of drill bit actually exposed. So we're going to start off with that. What I like to do first, and you don't have to do this, this is actually an optional step. I like to gouge a little mark in there first, if I can find the tool. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I got you. Thank you. Justin with the assist. All right, so this is just an old scriber, just a general scriber that I had. Again, from Hobby Mate. Imagine that. So what I like to do is just mark that with a little bit of hole right there. So what that's going to do is that's going to serve as a pilot hole for the drill bit itself, and it will help it to not slip out from that. So line that up, and with this piece, this is a thin plate, so I'm going to drill through it, but you don't really want to do that. Or if you do, you want to cover it up on the back side, maybe with another detail part or something like that. So I drilled through it just for the demo's sake. So now we have a hole that should be just big enough for the shaft. No, that is not. It needs to be bigger. I measured it, yeah, and this is a 0.64.
Did you make it as tight as you could?
What's that?
Did you make it as tight as you could?
What are you talking about?
To make it accurate fit.
No. I made it to fit.
Well, then you failed.
So if something like this happens,
Yeah.
does it hurt if it's like a big enough hole just to use an X-Acto knife and just get a little extra
You could.
size out of it?
I mean, that's one way of doing
Right.
it.
'Cause I know my go-to would be to just do that.
So that's actually a
I
really
guess to this size. It's really,
yeah. That's actually a really good question. You do have to be super careful when it's this size because even
You can't uncut that plastic.
yeah
right.
even a hundredth of a millimeter at this size is massive.
Right.
You know.
So a suggestion comes in from the internet saying you can stick a sewing needle inside a mechanical pencil to make the scriber
Yeah.
for making a pilot hole.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely kind of a
describing with the
yeah. That's definitely kind of a
A home remedy, a
DIY.
makeshift.
Yeah. And I've done that in the past.
I think I first tried that.
Yeah, what's up with this? So, I'm not crazy, right? 0.62, yeah? Let's measure down here. 0.61, look at that. What the shit?
So then just go with the next size up.
Yeah, so we go to the next size up. And then,
Tapered.
yeah,
Size bigger.
so, I mean, this is not uncommon. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, this is all custom work, you know what I mean? This stuff is very common. I go through this all the time.
Building, you get the
This is why I only go
You
look
said-
at
I think
the
we
spent
were
all
on
the time measuring the little.
Hey man, you gotta be accurate, right? You gotta be precise.
cut once, measure twice, or is it
like
Yeah.
Measure twice.
Yeah, I like that better.
Cut it, measure
Yeah, exactly.
it. Put measure twice.
So I have a question. Would they actually measure that if you're entering it in a contest? Would they sit there and measure all those things?
No.
It's all about
Aesthetic.
There we go.
And,
I mean, to
yeah.
see if you were consistent.
If it's off by like a millimeter,
Yes.
unless it's right next, like if he puts the next one right next to it as a millimeter off, you're gonna know.
Yeah,
If it's
you're
on the
right.
other side and it's a millimeter off,
Right.
Oh yeah.
you'd have to really be looking.
You have
Yeah.
to measure it.
All right, so now we've got a hole big enough to hold that shaft, right? So that is perfect. Actually. So now what we're going to do is we are going to embed this a little bit in the plastic. We're going to recess it into the plastic because you don't want it surface mounted because it kind of looks dumb that way and it just doesn't look
You have
like
to be
it
going for
would.
it.
Yeah, you have to look. It has to look mechanical. So what we're going to do is we are going to measure. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's
Man,
a
it's really cool that you got those little metal things.
I know. So we're going to measure the diameter of the pinhead here. 1.75. Well, the bad thing is I didn't bring my wire gauge to metric cheat sheet, so I'm going to have to convert it 0.725. Hopefully. Oh God, this is. I usually have a cheat sheet printed out at home that gives. I got it. Don't worry about it.
Ask the internet.
So this should be.
I'm here to help.
Nah, this should be dead on. Yeah, that looks good. Actually, we're gonna go a little bit bigger because we want a little bit of a reveal on this. We're gonna go. I think 0.81, just a tad bit bigger, just to be on the safe side. All right, so we get our other device here. We pop that in, lock it in. All right, so what we're going to do is we're not going to drill all the way through, obviously. We are going to start on that hole. We're going to get that centered. We're just gonna nibble a little bit of plastic off there.
Just right a little bit.
Yeah, just widen that up so that pin can sit in there and look a bit recessed. Yeah.
So this is important to try and make every one look about the same amount recessed. Though.
Yeah, yeah. You want to take your time and you want to sneak up on it. You don't want to go full bore and just drill.
Count your turns, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Counting. Yeah, that actually, I actually do that when I snap fit a model. No, you
Too
don't.
fast.
Definitely don't. No.
When you try and bore out the holes for the connections.
Yeah,
what
I use is this deal here, right? I put this in, I pop this in one of the drill pin vices and everything, and then what I do is I put this into the receiver hole for one of the pins, turn it 10 times, and it's still going to grip it, but it's still easy to pull apart. It's working wonders. All right, so we've got a nice recessed part there. So now we're going to test it. Pull that down. It's not bad. I think we need to go a little bit bigger with the outside hole. So we're going to step it up a little bit. So let's see. Because what you want, you're not looking for it just to fit in that hole.
Kind of looking for like a countersink.
Yeah, you want a countersink look. Yeah, that's actually really good, Polly. Thank you. So we're just going to nibble that up a little bit here. Pull that plastic back. All right, we're going to try that. Yeah, that's actually a lot better. There's about maybe a 0.1 millimeter all the way around that. Which is looking pretty nice. And that is just recessed enough to where it's not flush with the surface of that shield, but you can still feel the part. So now what you want to do, the tricky part, is you want to clip the shaft off here. So you got to be pretty damn careful with this because. Yeah, thank you, Justin. If you have a third hand, this actually works. So what you really want to do is you want to.
I always imagine if I had a third arm, I'd just go talk to you.
Yeah. You can go ahead and let go. I'm not going to snap it right now. So what you want to do is you want to hold on to the money part right here, the actual head of it, and.
If you're at home alone, this doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can just snap. Yes, yeah. Put this down. Cover your eyes.
No children around.
Yeah. And these things go flying too. It's crazy. All right, you want to help me out here? Look it up. All right, ready? 1, 2, and bingo. All right, so now what we've got.
A funny story about that.
Well, you can tell us.
It's a really good one.
That's cool. Tell them when Brax gets here.
No.
Where is Brax?
Yeah.
Somebody
Hey, who's got the app?
Yeah,
Where's
for real.
Brax at?
Yeah. Check Instagram. Where's Brax?
Somebody said, I've heard his name like 4 times.
Yeah, right. All right, so you've got that little pin head here, and it's got maybe 2 millimeters worth of shaft on there, and that's still maybe too much. So dry fit it first. Try to nuzzle it in there. You got to be super gentle with this now because since that shaft is a little disturbed at the bottom, it's going to be a bit tight to get into the previous hole. So, but we've got it, and it looks good on the other side. Yeah. So see, this is what I'm talking about. See, there's a lot more shaft coming through on the other side. It's hard to see. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See? So you don't want that. You don't want that at all. Now, what you could do, you could cover that with like a minus mole or something like that that has a recess in the back so it goes over top. But with this kind of tight a space, probably not going to be feasible. So we'll push that back through and we'll trim it up a little bit more. So
Well, why not do this? Why not glue it on like with super glue, and then
Trim it from the back?
and then trim it from the back while it's rigid and strong.
these things won't get into that space.
You don't want to use your nice cutters for that.
Yeah, do not. Yeah, don't. Okay.
Don't bust out the god hands.
Don't use these to cut metal. This is bad. All right. So yeah,
Unless
so
you want to buy a new pair.
yeah, well, and these would probably break before the pin does. So yeah, so probably not the best use of tools.
Exacto knife to certify.
Pretty much. All right, so here we go. We're gonna try this one more time. We're gonna hold that pin. We're gonna try our best not to lose it. Won't be the first time. All right. So we still got it. We still got it. Oh yeah, perfect. And there's probably about 3/4 of a millimeter on there now. So we're gonna pop that back in the hole. Be super careful, because this thing's tiny, and if you drop it, it's gone forever. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Until you step on it, and it hurts.
It probably won't. This will probably fall into the recesses of your carpet and never be seen again. Now, a good thing to find steel parts, metal parts, is to use rare earth magnets. If you take a rare earth magnet and you run it over your carpet, that thing will pick up all the steel that you dropped on the floor since the day the freaking house was built. Back in 1904, you could pick up grand steel teeth with that.
You're sitting there, but it'll be on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't say you didn't have to work for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the dudes on the beach in the metal detector.
Yeah. All right, so that's better. You can still feel a barb coming through on that side. So what I would do, if this was kind of a practical situation, is I would go back and trim that until I didn't feel anything on this side, and probably cover that with some sort of plastic strip or something like that, just to cover the hole. Ideally, I wouldn't have drilled straight through, but for demo purposes, that's what I did. So to finish this off, you don't want to put this in there. You don't want to glue this in there right now. This is going to be one of your last steps. So you're going to prime the kit, paint the kit, panel line, decal, all that stuff. You want to finish it all first, and then you want to put the metal stuff on, like this. Now,
It depends on what you're dealing with.
that's what I was going to say.
Because like,
Photo etch.
sometimes people will put photo etch on their kits after the fact.
Yeah.
And sometimes it looks good.
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't.
They just look bad.
For like small details, like the rivet details and stuff, it's fine.
A lot of photo etch
like
is meant to be painted.
But but if you're gonna buy like a large photo etch kit, like we were talking about earlier, you're gonna want to paint that.
Yeah, exactly. And I was getting ready to say that. So you kind of stole my thunder.
I thought you were gonna say, and I was like, I know Tim's not gonna say that.
What?
to not paint the photo etch.
Oh no, yeah, you
No,
absolutely
rare
have to.
occasions
Come on
you
now.
do, the rare occasions you don't. You want to
Detail parts are one thing, conversions are different.
Exactly. So photo etch is a special case scenario. For these types of things, since these add kind of surface detail, these are teeny tiny little parts. Here, pass that around. Just take a look at them if you want to. You don't have to be super careful.
What I would say
beautiful.
is maybe you wouldn't paint.
No, this is the AW.
Yeah, those are steel spirit. Yeah.
I think Mr. Flash.
Look at that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Kevin's got.
He's got
But you would
I just started to buy a
paint
few of
something
those.
like
Like
Yeah,
events.
absolutely.
Yeah, I like that one.
I mean, you could. This is kind of what I would call middle ground. You could or you couldn't.
Yeah, you
Oh,
see your fingers.
maybe.
But this might look better just left as metal.
Yeah, maybe. I would probably, me personally, I would probably paint most of them.
Yeah. The better example would be the circle.
Oh, no, the good example would be the vents. The ones that have those little flip-up vents.
Yeah.
That either goes on
Yeah,
chest
some of them,
or
yeah.
on thrusters.
Yeah.
Those you don't have to paint. You just set
It
it right.
depends.
Right.
You could set it on inside a thruster.
Yeah.
And then flip the vent up. Paint if you like, and then just repaint it with chrome over it.
Yeah.
But at least it blends in.
Yeah. So, but if you did want to paint it, glue it in now, prime it, paint it like normal. But if you wanted to retain that metallic look, then put this on last. It's basically called putting on the jewelry. Now, They're kind of bedazzling, yeah. I mean, it's manly bedazzle. What are you talking about?
Mecha dazzle.
I know, right? Hey, my daughter's
I think it's
done it
been,
before,
I think it's
so.
been done.
Yeah. Hey, my daughter actually won a competition with a bedazzled bear guy.
Oh no,
Ask the kids from.
I didn't know.
from
I didn't know
Cali.
it was bedazzled.
Yeah, dude.
I saw the picture, but I didn't see all the bedazzled.
Oh, it's girly, man. Girly. Pink and green. Yeah, that's a whole nother
Just like in
story.
Gundam.
Wait,
Gundam
I think I remember
Fighters,
that
and
one.
I posted a thing.
Was
I'm
it-
super proud of her.
It
yeah.
made it to one of the shows.
Yeah, it was. We took a trip to SCGMC a few years ago. She entered the junior category, and she won. She was super happy with it. She was 8 years old. Yeah, she was awesome. So anyway, check it out on Child of Mecha, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Anyway, so if you wanted to paint this again, prime paint like normal. If you wanted to retain that kind of metallic look, then put this in last. Put the jewelry on, but if you prime and paint this model, and then you put this super shiny chrome looking thing on here, it's not going to look realistic. It's going to completely break the look of a scale model, right? So,
Unless everything else is metallic.
yeah, maybe. I mean, if that's what you're going for, yeah. Yeah, if that's what you're going for, that could work. But for me, personally, what I like to do, and I did this with the Ozymandias last year, I put on metallic parts at the very end, but then before I installed them, I hit them with a layer of Tamiya weathering powder. And what that does is it brings down the shine to it and that kind of fake metallic look. And what happens is that Tamiya weathering powder just sticks to all of the nooks and crannies, especially if it's like a brushed style of metal part, like these, like the Haikyuu minus molds, because they're a little brushed on the top. I think that's just from the finishing process, but they're not super shiny like a silver kit. But I would do that to this, and it's still going to pick up, and it's still going to grip onto this, and it's going to look just dope. I love the look of that, because it's kind of dirty metallic, if you will, and it looks totally realistic once you do that. And you can put the Tamiya weathering powders come in a ton of different colors. Me personally, I like the oil stain color. It comes with the heat warping, the heat warping set,
like a red,
the blue, and
Why not take the pen and put it like in a burner and just to burn it a bit, just give it that discolorization right there.
You could. Yeah, you absolutely could.
Yeah.
You could do that too. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the limit. That's just what I like to do, you know?
It all depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, it really does. It really, really does. That's a very good point. It really does depend on the end look that you want to go for. If you want a super clean mech, then tone it down with a little bit of oil stain or a little bit of soot or something like that. If you're going for dirty, like a desert, or you've been in the muck or in the jungle or something like that, hit it with some dirt or some sand. If you were like snow, they got a snow color, hit it with that, and you kind of bring that shine down a little bit. The Tamiya weathering powders are just great altogether. I love those things, and I will probably forever use those. But hit all the metal stuff. If you leave it metal, hit that before you finish off your model, and then give it the final top coat, and it's going to just look super nice. So, step one, very, very easy, cheap metallic detail to add to the models. And like I said, I'd probably put them, just in the corners. Use them sparingly. This is not something to be kind of overdone.
Don't bedazzle it.
Oh God, yeah. Don't bedazzle it. So like the Jester that I'm working on right now, on this entire leg, I only have 2 spots for the sewing pin, and that's going to be right here on the right here in the corner of this leg piece, and I got it on both sides so it looks symmetrical. But that's the only place that I'm going to have a metal detail like that. Yeah, go ahead and pass that around. Okay. Yeah. So that's the only spot. That's like I said, use it sparingly, but use it wisely.
Oh, that's a cheeky spot.
What's up?
I said pretty cheeky.
Pretty cheeky. Cheeky. Very nice.
I am cheeky.
I got a lot of British friends, man.
I'm actually
love
for
them.
British.
I love the Brits. Why don't you have an accent?
I'm also part New Yorker.
I gotta tell you, if you're American, you're pretty much part British.
We all have that perception.
Shut up.
All right, so moving on. Let's talk about strip details. So using plastic strip to make detail pieces. Now, for those of you looking at the leg, pay close attention to the white parts on the foot. All of the parts on the foot, except for the two sides on the ankle and this kind of round over strip right here on the top, all of the rest of it is just plastic strip, just stock plastic strip in different sizes. So this right here is two plastic strips stacked, but in different lengths. Yeah, so you can see that on the part coming around on the back here. It's just a simple plastic strip glued onto that little area. And then once it's glued on, I take my scribe around it to simulate kind of a separated look, because once you paint prime that and then hit it with some panel liner, that's going to kind of make a faux shadow around that, and it's going to make it look like a separate piece. It's going to look awesome. Yeah, exactly. So, and then what I really like to do, and this gets stupid small, these little teeny tiny little, see these little white specks on the foot? These little things? These simulate latches because they fall over panel lines. Now, these are made from, let's see, 0.25 millimeter thick by 0.5 millimeter wide strip that are cut in 1 millimeter lengths.
How many have you lost?
Oh, more than I can count.
How many have
Just
you
the
lost?
entire, that little knife goes tink, tink.
Yeah, if you ran a vacuum on the floor just under my work table, I mean, it would be white. You know? The whole thing would be white.
I don't think you're using the chopper 2 on that, are you?
No. Not with teeny tiny little details. Not with these little speck, kind of latches here. But with these types of effects here, and to match up the length of the roundover bits here, absolutely. You want to make sure that they are the exact same length, because symmetry matters. Again, all that is just strip detail. Now, for those of you that were wily enough to pull back the ankle, there's that little piece right there. So, for those of you at home, yeah, see that right there? Yeah, nobody pulled back the ankle. Nobody pulled back the ankle. The ankle armor.
How'd you do that?
Yeah. Good question. Very good question. Again, strip. It's all plastic strip. This is stupid simple, and I will show you how to do it momentarily. But this is what is that? 1 millimeter by 4 millimeter cut to length. And then there's a, 1.5 by 0.75 millimeter in there? Might be a half millimeter wide, I don't know. Anyway, so these are just 3 strips glued together. And then I beveled the front of each one of them, and obviously the middle one I cut a little bit shorter so that the 2 bigger ones would protrude to gain that look, right? And then what I did again was scribe outline that particular part so it looks like a separated part coming from that ankle armor. So it's actually pretty damn simple. So here, pass that around, take a look at it again. But I'll show you how to do that here momentarily too. And if you're wise enough to look at the back, you'll see the use of a photo etch part, and I just surface mounted that. So nothing crazy. That's just super glued onto that panel that I scribed in there, just to look like a latch, So that's all that is. So, let's start with detailing something. What should we detail here? Let's keep on this. I like this because, number one, this has seen better days. I've painted and stripped this thing I don't know how many times, and it started to crack. And, what's that? Oh, the GMC? Yeah, it's a good old kit.
It's a beautiful kit.
It needs some love because it's old, definitely. You'll be there. Yeah, I know.
You gotta open fingers.
See?
They feel the air. You gotta.
Anyway, so what we'll do is see this strip right here. This is molded in this strip, right? So what I would like to do is maybe simulate that up here, right? So how do we do that? We cut a strip to match. So we need our good old calipers. Zero that out. Yeah, you absolutely have to check the width because that is 0.75 wide. I think I have 0.75 wide. Let's see. And we're gonna.
You only got like 20 packages here.
Well, yeah, and mind you, I got repeats of some of the widths that I use a lot here too. And then I have half rounds and different shapes and stuff too. So I'll show you some really cool things with half round a little bit later. Actually, Ira, can you grab the Virgin Logic for me out of the case? Because that is a perfect example of just detail form. It's all scratch build. If you guys are not familiar with the Gundam version logic, this is Josh Darrow's kind of idea that he had, and this is 100% scratch built by me, of course, except for the thruster bells. So if I ever did want to enter this in GBWC, I could call the base kit the XS, because that's where these thruster bells are from. So I was thinking about it one year just to troll GBWC, but I decided against it because I
do it anyway.
Nah,
this year.
Nah.
Yeah.
But again, you can see on here the use of different elements because you've got, like on the side here, let me take it off the stand. It's magnetized. Look at that.
Oh, you fancy.
I am super fancy, dude. And then I even put like metal or the little rubber feet on here so it wouldn't go sliding, right? So yeah, I go crazy with it, right? Yeah, for real. All for a stupid cube idea, right? So, but this thing was cool. This was so much fun to build. I mean, this was just, stupid fun scratch building, and it was dumb easy. I mean, it was just like you build a box and then you put some detail on it, right? It's so much fun. If you guys haven't tried
I think the backstory makes it even more fun.
Oh, the backstory is great. Yeah. For those of you at home that aren't familiar with the Gundam version logic, look it up on Zaku Aurelius Gunpla Talk. God, it was from last year, I think. Just search. Yeah.
We really had some fun on that thing.
It was
search Gundam version
movement.
logic. Oh, dude, it was great. Yeah, there's a Facebook group and the whole nine that's still going on. It's awesome. But this is a wonderful exercise in coming up with original detail because none of this was scripted, none of this was drawn, none of this was planned out by anybody else. Everybody kind of did their own thing, and that's what all of this is. This is just brainstorming on the most basic level. You've got Kotobukiya part vents here. You've got Kotobukiya vent parts here, minus mold things. You've got more rectangular and square thrusters in the back. You've got a little circular thing in the back here. You've got minus molds at the four corners of the side panels. I mean, you've got the trapezoidal plates here just because. Just a whole bunch of things. You've even got like these little dumb hatches on the front here. Those are all plastic part kit pieces that I just glued on. But then to accentuate and tie that all together, I used strip and plastic sheet. Like right up here, this whole big part here was all just plastic sheet and it's glued on. This whole side panel here to here is just another plastic sheet glued on. And right here. So these two pieces that make up the cannon at the bottom are thruster pieces from Wave detail parts. And then I used styrene tube to form the actual cannon. Slotted a couple to get that taper here, and then I went real crazy on the inside because if you look at the inside, you can see that the inside of the barrel is actually barreled out. It's actually formed inside there. So that. What's that?
Get a ballistics report on it.
Yeah, it's barreled out. I mean, like
Rifling?
rifling. Thank you. I don't know. I don't know the proper term.
You got it right.
I'm a geek model guy. Right. So what I did was I took a smaller styrene tube that basically just wobbled inside and out, and then glued strips along the outside diameter of it, so then it would fit snug in here. Glued it all in, so it simulated that rifling look. So that again, I mean, it's just simple detailing up, and then you've got plastic sheets here, plastic pieces here. The V fin, the V fin is just plastic that I just kind of sculpted. It just from a 1 millimeter square sheet.
I thought you would have taken it from like the crotch.
I wanted this to be. I wanted this to be as scratch built as possible. So I could have done that, but I didn't want to do that. So and you've got the little little strips here on the panels and things like that. That's all over the place. You've got some strapping detail that I'm going to show you here in a little bit later on the bottom here to kind of simulate almost like a landing gear type thing, even though in the theory of the Gundam version logic it never lands. But then also I scratch built this base too. I mean, this is just plastic sheet and strip and a bunch of magnets. Ba-boom.
Nice.
So,
The
half round. Oh, yeah. So, on the top, these three little kind of ribs right here. You see that? See?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can barely tell, but that's very common. You see them on. You'll see them used primarily on weapon designs, like the XS, the smart gun. At the back end of that smart gun, it has a few of these half-round pieces as detail. You probably won't notice them. I particularly notice details like that. But this type of thing is actually very common in the Gundam aesthetic. So again, I'll show you how to do that here momentarily, but I want to show you some strip details here real quick first. So we're going to put the version logic right over here so people can Google at home. But what we want to do is we want to simulate, again, like this thing here. Now,
Okay, just a width again.
yeah, well, I got the width. It's 1/2 mil or 3/4 mil wide.
Oh, yeah,
So that is definitely not 1/2 mil thick. So this is that was 1 mil thick. This is 1/2 mil. I could get away with it, but that's more like point. 0.4. You could, but you run into the problem where if you don't sand it evenly, then you run into waves. Yeah. So I like to try to avoid that if at all possible. So okay, so here is a 1/4 inch thick strip. This is 3.2 wide, so I'm not going to use this for the actual piece, but this is just a gauge pipe. So put it right up against the side there. Ooh, I think that might. You just need to. Yeah, that's a winner. So it's 0.25 or 0.25 millimeter high. That's the thickness of that strip needs to be. So 0.5 by 0.75. Well, let's see if Tim has 0.5 by 0.75. I don't know if I do or not. 0.25 by 1 if the need arises. No. Yeah, and this is the other problem of having so much plastic strip. You got to go through them like this. 0.75 by 2. I don't know if I'm going to have that, guys. And if not, it doesn't matter because I'll just do something like that. Where's that 175? 175. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to shit. Whoopsie. All right, zero that. Ooh, was that 2? Yeah, that's 2. Okay, cool. I know I have 0.25, that's 2. So it was on inches. So let's go back. 0.25 by 2. I know I have that. 0.25 by 2. Bingo. Winner. Alright, so put strips over there. That over there. Pull a strip of plastic out here. Alright, so what we need to do is we first need to eyeball that. That looks pretty good. Height is dead on. Excuse me. So now we need to measure the length of this. Now, since this portion of the shield is larger, obviously, than this, and it has the cutout, we're not going to be able to have the same length of strip on the top as it is on the bottom. So we need to kind of measure appropriately. And what I think would probably work best is to measure from this bevel point down to the top of the actual strip itself. So we're going to eyeball that here. We're going to call that 19 millimeters. So let's see what 19 millimeters looks like on this side. Looks a bit much, and it's going to be crowded if I do that. So if I come up the actual, if I come up the actual 19 millimeters and mirror it on that side, realistically it's only going to give me maybe 10, 12 millimeters to that cutout. And I don't even want it going to the cutout either. I need space in there. So what we'll do is we'll just play it, and we'll just bring it up a few millimeter from the bottom there, and then we are going to just kind of rough cut it. We'll clean this up here in a minute.
Oh, you don't use the chopper to cut it?
Yeah, I will.
Oh, okay.
To square it off, but this is just kind of rough because, again, it doesn't have to be perfect right now. So right there, bend it, snap it, throw it away. Okay, so now we use the chopper to square this end off because we got the kind of the length, the approximate length we want to go to. So we just pop that, and now we have 2 square sides of that strip right there. So what we need to do next, we need to find where that we need to
Safe
locate.
haven.
What's that?
The safe haven.
Yeah, we need to locate where that strip is in space on this particular shield. So this is where this T-square or any metal ruler for that matter comes in. You butt that up against there, take your point of your pencil, and draw a line. Now, obviously, this line is going to be moved over this way a little bit. So we need to adjust that strip over accordingly to make it centered. So we're going to move it over maybe 0.1 millimeter over to this side. So what we do, get this, we're just going to grab that here right on the corner. You can't get it too much because we want this thing to get glued on that surface, right?
It's not even t-shirt. You could probably use masking tape as a guide.
You could. It's probably a little slower. Just putting up a ruler there, just quick and simple. Pop that off, make sure that it's good on both sides.
Everyone's got those chemicals.
Oh yeah.
As long as we're in.
Yeah. Off your own supply. Alright, so
That is the
you like
that's,
that, right?
That's terrible life advice.
Hey man,
That is a great life
It's a
advice.
classic biggie.
Anyway, so that looks pretty damn good. That's centered up to where that needs to be. So once you prime this, you paint this. What I would probably do is just go over this very lightly with sandpaper because the corners on this are going to be a lot sharper than the molded in detail on the original shield, just because of the molding process. Bandai's molds are super sharp to begin with, compared to some other kits, but they're not the sharpest in the field. If this was Kotobukiya, then I wouldn't even worry about taking sandpaper to it. But what I would do is just lightly sand around this thing just to knock the corners off just a hair, just to make it just a little fuzzy to match this particular strip here. So there you go. That's super easy. Super, super easy. It matches up. Once you prime and paint this, you're never going to know the difference of what's molded in and what's not customized. So easy strip detail there. Base 1, step 1, time 2:21. Cool, we got plenty of time still. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do these little stepped details here, like up here on the ankle. These are really cool. These are more, if you've ever seen Infinite Dimensions dress-up kits like the Sazabi that they've had, I'm sure you've probably seen it, you just don't know that it's the Infinite Dimensions. The ones that are super, super detailed, that got all these little panels and gray bits hanging out and stuff like that. Beautiful kits.
I've seen a Jeep Suzuki. Was it?
I don't know.
No, I don't.
Side 3 also makes wonderful dress-up kits. Those are resin conversion kits, basically, that they've got detail added in and just basically plop it onto your model. It's detailed for you. Me personally, I like to do it myself, but I'm pretty. So what we're going to do is we're going to simulate those stepped detail strips here. So what we're going to do, these are half rounds. We're going to start with 1 millimeter in two different widths. So here's 1/4 by 1. That's perfect. And we're also looking for 1/2 by 1. Let's see. Half by 1. Perfect. Okay, so we've got 1/4 millimeter wide strip, and we've also got 1/2 millimeter wide strip, both in 1 millimeter width. So there's going to be the same width regardless. This one is still sealed, so we're going to get that open. Now you're not going to need a lot of this strip. There's 10 strips of this in one package, and obviously you see the length of that strip, and you see the length of these details that we're going to add. So you're not using much plastic to begin with. So we're going to take a little bit of this out. Now these are super fine. These 1/4 millimeter wide strips are super, super fine. So you do have to be a little careful with them. So what we're going to do is I like to gauge up the good old chopper with my little L square here by Zona, love Zona. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these maybe 5 millimeter long. So we're going to line that up. And this is going to be the bottom base. So this is overall going to be about 5 millimeters. And it's, this doesn't have to be perfect. If you want it to be, be super meticulous about it. If not, eyeball it. It's whatever length you want it to be. I just kind of, want it to be that length. So we're going to start with the 1/2 mil first, because this is going to be our bottom layer. This is going to be the thickest one. And then the 1/4 mil is going to form the step on that particular piece of detail. So you want to be super careful with that, because this will pop out and fly across the room if you're not careful. So we're just going to do 2 right now. That's going to be our base. And then next we are going to put that down maybe to there. Again, I'm just eyeballing it right now, but you can be super precise if you want to. So we're going to use 1/4 mil by 1. We're going to try and get that in there. At this particular size, it's tough to get centered in that slot. You're going to be careful there. I might pull that piece out. All right. And shit. There it is.
Good example.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how strips and pieces like that at small widths can just go popping out.
Pretty much
So-
a workbench, you have to work with a net.
Well, kinda, yeah. But I mean, this stuff is so cheap that it's not a big deal if you have to cut it.
Yeah,
again.
say that to like your better parts.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got my own money. Anyway, so you've got these 4 little bits of strip here. So this is very fine detail work. So you need to work kind of slowly and super meticulously. That's where the Optivisor comes into play. If you don't have one of these, I highly suggest it because you can get super tight in on the detail and see very, very fine things. For those of you at home that don't know what I'm talking about, this is what I have on my head, and these are great.
They're especially awesome when you accidentally leave the house with them on and go to Wawa.
Did you did that once?
100%.
I think you're a mad Sonic.
Yeah. I've gone out wearing goofier things.
Hey,
what's
Doc Brown.
Oh, this guy's back here again?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he thinks he's Cyclops from X-Men or something. He's trying to buy dick for kids. I don't know.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this step detail. So what I like to do is I like to take just a hobby knife, and what you're gonna do is you're just gonna use the tip of the blade, and you're not gonna drive it in there. You're just gonna kind of just touch it and see it picks it up. Simple, 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 simple stuff. And you don't need it to be super secure on this thing. You just need it to hold well enough to apply just a little touch of glue. Just a bit. Just a bit. You just want to kiss it. You just want to kiss the glue on there too. Just very lightly. Just boom. Just done. Alright, so, and if I start to sound like Bob Ross, well, I'm sorry. So,
Happy little strips.
happy little strips of plastic. Yes, sir.
I keep thinking that it sounds like Chris Pratt. I don't know why.
Okay. Whatever works. I mentioned Chris
Brad's a good
I
man.
don't know why.
So, there is our formed step. Now, the beauty of these little tweezers here, these are, what's that?
I like those too.
Yeah, these are by Ektools, Ektools. You can get these at craft stores and online and stuff like that. These are the absolute best tweezers that I have ever used in my life, hands down. And I've used a ton of them. I've used, you know, the little surgical tweezers and everything, and I've used Tamiya tweezers, and I've used the big honking ones and the super, super tiny ones. There's nothing that compares to these. Because they're nice and small, the angle is nice, and the best part is that you can sharpen these down really, really fine and get a super sharp point on these, so you can grab even just the smallest of pieces.
I was just about to ask about that. What did you use to sand down the tip? Like a metal file would work, or what is it that you
use a Dremel?
Nah, an old X-Acto knife.
Really?
Yeah, just an
Okay.
old X-Acto knife. And I use that to clean these as well,
Okay.
because if super glue gets on these, or
Yeah.
if to me extra thin gets gunked up on there, you can just take an X-Acto knife and just shave it off
Okay.
of there, scrape it off, what have you.
Right.
And then if you really wanted them to be super, super fine, you could sand them down with
Yeah.
some fine sandpaper if you wanted to
Yeah,
go
I
that
didn't know
route.
what you did it with. I remember
Yeah.
you had me AX. You were letting me use those for the decals
Yeah, yeah.
last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, these are great. These
Yeah,
are like
yeah.
$5 at like craft stores,
Right.
Michaels. And
You can get a good purchase
All
on
that.
them too with that size to help. Like,
Oh,
wow,
God,
they
yeah.
are. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
Oh, I mean, these are great. These are absolutely great. And what I use them for with this is to square both pieces up. So all you got to do is pinch them like this, and now they're squared. Now they're completely parallel, and you don't even have to sand them. Because these are so small that you're probably not going to see any sort of seams or anything. Now, if you're...
then shrink down to see.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you're
High heel
super...
boards.
Now, if you're super meticulous like me, I'll still sand the sides of them anyway. But that's just me. You don't have to. Just, you know, and you can even squeeze these a little bit just to make sure that these strips are parallel to one another. But that's essentially how you make that little step detail.
Yeah, I like you sand it.
How would you sand it?
Yeah.
Very carefully.
Yeah, that's why I like how are you standing at?
Like those like colored
Let's see.
file sticks, the really narrow ones.
So,
Probably nervous then.
yeah, that's actually what I would do is I would turn these ever so carefully on the side like that, not like that, but
That's really fun.
Don't.
like that. Everybody's looking outside at the rain, guys, at home. So what I would do is take them like that, and like Justin said, just lay down a sanding block and just carefully that way.
Just make sure it's nice and fine sanding block.
Yeah,
Not a
yeah.
coarse.
Oh god, yeah. You'll just
200
you'll go
grit.
through this. Yeah.
80% make it disappear.
Right through. Don't worry about
Just
it.
rub it on the road outside.
Yeah. Now, if you were like me when you were little, you used to go outside and take sticks and sharpen them on the sidewalk.
Of course.
You thought you were hot shit, like when you were 5 or 6.
You want to mess with me?
Danger.
Yeah. So, I don't know if people did that everywhere for everybody at home, but here in the States, on the
We're
East
crazy.
Coast,
We got pretty
yeah,
bored.
we get a little crazy. So, if that's not something that you did, I apologize.
Like you're like an edgy little 5-year-old and like you're sharpening sticks on like the sidewalk and just like while playing Danger Zone.
Yes.
Great song.
That would be terrifying.
I really like that movie.
All right.
You just try
So-
to shame people when you walk by.
So again, step 2, we do the same thing. We just kiss that glue right on there, and we do the same exact thing. You just pop that on there, and that glue is going to grip, and it's going to pop it right off that knife blade because, like I said, you do not want to just stab the thing with it.
But now I have to push
You just hang on. You just want to touch it. Just touch it real light, and that blade is going to indent in the plastic just enough to pick it up and hold it because these things are so small. If you tried that with like this, obviously it wouldn't work because there's a weight issue. But with these little itty bitty strips, perfect, absolutely perfect. So again, we take our tweezers, grab it, pinch it, line it up, bada boom, bada bing. We make sure that the end is squared, and I just use kind of my fingernail to push it in place. And that looks good. All right, so now that that's lined up, I'm just going to readjust. Parallel. Make sure it's parallel again. Nope, it's not. It's sticky. There we go. Now we got it. Good. All right, so now we have a set of matching stepped detail that we can apply to a piece. These are identical to one another because we use the chopper that you can achieve repeat cuts every single time. Once you lock this guide in here, it's not going to move under the force of plastic. It's just not going to move. So, placement, obviously, on a piece is key. With something like this on the Jesta, I just put it here on the ankle. No rhyme or reason, I just thought it looked cool there. Which kind of does go against my own mantra for mechanical detail and thinking of what goes where, but for this particular project, this was all about just adding detail and just kind of having a cool detailed kit. This wasn't a project like this, or the Ozymandias, or the Gem Spartan that I'm working on. This is just kind of fun. For me, I still consider this an out-of-box. But that's just for me. I know for most people this is not anything near an out-of-box build. But for me, based off of what I normally do, this is just kind of a fun out-of-box build for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to place these on the shield. Now, where do we place them on here? You could place them in a lot of different locations, but for me, what I'm going to do and what I think would look really, really cool is butt them up just underneath of this cutout here in the shield, and it's going to basically simulate reinforcement for that cutout. So I'm going to pick that up. Just a little bit of glue, not a lot. You don't want it squirting out the back.
Put too much glue on it, it's gonna open it up.
Oh well, yeah, especially at this size too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I gripped it in reverse than what I wanted to, so now we got it. Yep, we still got it. All right, good. So we're going to place that right up against there, and I think I did put a little bit too much glue on there, but not too much. So I'm good. All right, so drive that right up into that corner there. Now, obviously, since this is a two-piece part, this front section comes off. You would want to do this when it's apart, because that glue is going to melt to that cutout. Yeah. So,
in case you want to paint that.
yeah. This is just for demo purposes. So for right now, that's all I'm doing. So don't mind that this is a two-part piece. All right. So that looks good there. Let's do it with the other one here too. Glue. Perfect. We're going to eyeball this about the same length from the bevel as the other piece. I think that looks pretty close to what you want. Let's adjust. That's the great thing about Tamiya Extra Thin, is that you've got some time to adjust the piece if you need to. But I think that, yeah, that looks pretty good. By holding it upside down like this, you do see a different view of it, so you can see if it looks symmetrical or not. So just kind of a neat little trick. Hold it upside down, and if it looks good on in both directions, then it's pretty much square. So I think that looks good. So easy stepped detail that you can add to a shield, that you can add to ankle armor, that you can add to wherever on your part. And it doesn't have to be 5 millimeters long. It can be 9, 10, 15, however long you want it to be. It can be however wide you want it to be as well. But smaller details simulate a larger scale. So the smaller details that you have, the larger the illusion is for that particular scale model. So easy stepped detail. So really simple stuff there. So now we're going to do some really fine detail here. I'm going to show you how to do the little latches over the panel lines. This is super fine, super meticulous. So you need to be very careful. Here we go. 1/4 millimeter by 0.5 millimeter by 1/2 millimeter. So this is a brand new pack. So we're going to open this.
Have you ever sat down and decided to make your own custom detailed parts, but for kits that you haven't even decided to build yet, but you say, let me create a set of detailed Griblies or something like that, just to have it ready.
Kind of like what you just made, but like in
Right. Just start mass
produce.
producing 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, I'm going to use this, but it's going to be for something else.
You absolutely could. There's nothing saying that you can do that. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I've never done it because every single project that I do is custom to that piece.
Okay.
So if I make 100 of, these same things, I may need a stepped detail like this, but not in that size.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to make it anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but no, I mean, you could do that. There's nothing saying that you can't. I mean, if you use a lot of that same size detail, that'll save you a lot of time down the road. Yeah. So it's all in what you want to do.
Right.
You know.
I got a question.
Okay.
What you did with
Is it
the
a stupid question?
no.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Shoot.
Take that to your own judgment.
Okay.
What you did with the smaller parts.
Yeah. The step detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since they're at such a small angle, such a small block.
Okay.
Would there be a way to make it like a curve, like a smoothed out curve?
Right.
Could you bevel it down?
Yeah,
Into
yeah.
one slope.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I know what he's talking about, because certain kids, kids like the GM, just the can,
like that.
it's also
No, like a really smooth.
Inward arc.
Like make like a
Oh, that sounds more like just a
like
matter
a
of
skateboard
sanding.
ramp.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because that's what I mean.
Because
yeah.
usually you have parts that not all
Yeah.
flat; they're all curved.
Yeah.
But you would need more than 2, obviously.
Yeah.
Probably
You
like
would
3
stack it. You would
steps.
stack it like a stair step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would sand it out where you want.
Yeah, I know.
So what you're talking about? So basically a convex style shape. So what I would do is to take 3 pieces. Take your base and then put 2 smaller pieces on either side of that base piece, right? Leave them square, but then take a rounded file like this, and then you can just basically start to curve that valley in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. So does it make sense?
Yeah.
That was actually a good question. I'm proud of you.
I'm not the big fan.
Huh?
What?
Well, the debate's still out.
Darn it.
No, I'm fucking with you. All right, so getting back to this super small piece. I mean, look at this thing. It's like
Almost a string.
basically, yeah. It's like almost like a thick human hair. It's like crazy. So with this, I don't use a chopper because number one, there's like a relief space right here where the blade hits, and that's this is going to drop in there and you're never going to see it again. This is literally the black hole of the chopper.
I caught that a lot.
Yeah. So you're not going to use the chopper for something like this, and it's so small that if sorry, heard something for those of you at home. For something this small, it's going to be hard to make sure that it's a 90 degree, unless it's like super off and you can literally see it. But if you're trying to make it 90 degrees, you're going to be very, very hard pressed to, prove that it's not. Let's put it that way. And honestly, look how small you're working, right? There's no way anybody can tell if that's a perfect 90 degree, piece or not. So,
As long as you're not viciously one way or the other.
Yeah. So, what we want to do, this is 2 millimeter. These are 1. Okay, so, these are 1 millimeter long. These little latch pieces across the panel lines. Super small. Very, very easily lost. So what I do, and I'm using the chopper base as a cutting mat right now because I don't have my own cutting mat here. So what I'm going to do is use the 1 millimeter kind of as a length guide, right? And this is where the optimizers come in because you need to zoom in and see what you're doing. So we're going to line these up, and I'm going to get hunched over like Hunchback of Notre Dame here. And I'm going to carefully line that up, and then I'm going to very gently, not much pressure at all, let the knife do the work, cut that. And now, for those of you at home, you probably can't even see that little speck of plastic on that chopper. But it is
Right there. You got it.
right. Lay down. It is right there. Can you even see that on camera? No?
Hold on, let me see if I can do this.
So, yeah, so that's the size of a
yeah,
piece.
it's a speck maybe.
Yeah, that's the size of a piece that we're looking at. It's probably a pixel on somebody's screen right now.
Like the IMAX cinema.
Yeah.
And you can finally just see it, just like it's still like a little like pixel.
Yeah, it's like a thumbnail on a freaking IMAX screen. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Oh my god, you can't even see it.
It's like
You can't hardly see it. Yeah, you can't
That's
see it.
what-
It's stupid small.
This is on YouTube.
That's easy.
Yeah, it's just stupid small. So, again, this is this is the thing. These small, teeny tiny parts that you add to panel lines are going to make a huge difference in terms of the illusion of scale. Because this is a 20 meter. What was the Justin's 18, 19, 20 meters high, something like that. So it's like what, 60 feet high. So that's what you're trying to simulate here. So 1 millimeter is what one whole meter in 100 scale. What, you're not good at metric?
I'm not good at math.
Math is hard.
Full of nerds when I was
Yeah, right. I'm pretty decent at math, so yeah, that scales up to 1 meter. So in real world terms, that's huge, right? But obviously, scaled down 100 times, it's just minute. So that gives the illusion of that scale. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to find a unique place on the Justa to put this, and I think I'm going to put that right on the side to add a little bit of latch detail on here, so that little guy isn't lonely.
So here's the question, and you're gonna probably answer it. How the hell are you gonna
get it on there, right? Yeah, good question. That's a perfect question, and that has stumped geniuses since the beginning of time. But luckily, someone has come up with a solution. Again, using a super fine hobby knife such as these that have a very sharp tip on them. All you got to do is whoop, touch it, and there you go. And then, same thing as the step detail. We use our Tamiya extra thin. And again, you don't need a lot. You don't want a lot.
Then use one atom.
You're just gonna kiss it with a little glue. Whoop, there you go. Sound effects for added flavor. And then you're going to be very, very careful. You're going to place that across your panel line. Right there. Now, if you got the right amount of glue on here, that should stick and it should pull away from your knife like it just did for me. Now, the problem with these types of small little itty bitty pieces is that the glue dries, to me extra thin at least, dries super quick. It gets super, super dry very, very quickly. So what I like to do is come back after it's on there and just basically dry brush it almost with glue, just at the top and the bottom of it, just so it's secure. Now, what you're going to find is that when this dries and you paint over it, you're not going to be able to see it. So you don't really, I don't hardly ever sand that extra glue off of there because it's so thin. That primer and paint's going to just cover that up. So right there, boom. So he's got a little friend over here. This guy's got a companion now.
You may want to show it on the camera.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Focus.
Now that's a lot.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So he's got a little friend. Now he's not lonely anymore, right?
I just see it.
He's super happy.
I can make a joke here, but I don't want to.
Yeah, no. Good. I'm going full on Bob Ross for you guys. Come on now. I just need the throw. You didn't bring the. I should have brought the throw.
You should have
Dude, I would have gone full on Bob Ross.
You're not wearing a roll.
Oh no.
Justin would have been a great Bob Ross.
Next time, bring the throw.
Just Gordon Ramsay.
Just do Justin.
Do a handstand, man.
All right, so for everybody at home,
Justin with the
if you
throw.
want to see Justinius on the next live stream class that we do, leave a comment on Justinius Builds social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You're on YouTube, right? Yeah, YouTube. You can leave comments on my videos, but chances are he might not see them. So it's better to leave it on his. Instant message him too, and if you're friends with him on Facebook, and just shoot him a message or post on his wall. He loves
them in real life.
Yeah, we need Justinius in here.
It's a unanimous
Favorite
answer.
character.
He's coming back.
I love him. He needs his own channel.
I thought about that too.
Dude. I'm just saying. No pressure. No pressure. All right. So anyway, back to the discussion. Back to the demo. So again, just super little itty bitty fine details like that make a huge difference, right? Wait. Can you grab the Blue Destiny real quick? I appreciate it. Thank you, bro. So the Blue Destiny, if you haven't seen it here in the case, I did these little latch details all over it, and I went super crazy, and I actually painted them a different color. So imagine masking off a 1 millimeter by 0.5 millimeter.
you did it?
Things that he could just touch with a paint the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't. If I don't have to, let's see. Okay, so perfect example is right here on the top of the chest.
There's some here too.
There's some on there, but they're not as noticeable because the contrast on here is much better. So you can see the little gray little latch pieces there. And then I've got some on the legs, the side of the legs here too. They're a little bit harder to see, but they are there. And also the front, I forgot I did that. So the front has the little latch parts as well for those of you at home. Sorry, I'll hand it to you in a second. So you can see the little latch points there. And again here on the chest, on this panel line on the chest, you can see I'm on the Child of Mecha website, probably much better. They're much higher quality photos than what you're seeing here if you really do want to check it out. But this is a good example of plastic strip detail, this particular model, because this is kind of, this is the one I did after the Hummingbird. And this is kind of when I really started to develop that strapping kind of detail that I did. I kind of prototyped it with the Hummingbird, but then I really kind of perfected it with this. So you can see it here on the shoulders and on the top of the chest. You can see it here on the bottom of the knee, obviously on the foot, the bottom of the foot. Let me show you guys at home. So there's the bottoms of the feet, and you can see these plated details around. Yeah, they're basically shock pads, right? So that's the kind of the look that I was going for. I wanted to give him new shoes, and bada boom, bada bing.
Jake, you gave him Yeezys.
It's like the pad, a better version of the pads on the Origin.
Yeah, kind of.
On the
Careful. All right. So
I see.
Yeah, so you see the little latches on there?
You didn't hand brush those.
No.
Oh,
Like I said,
That's all that off an airbrush today?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, that's the thing with me is like I could hand brush them, right? But I could easily hand brush them.
This is why Tim doesn't build more than one kit.
Right.
Every 3.
Yeah.
Every 3.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm on a roll right now.
I feel like 15 a
Every
year.
2
I feel
years,
like
yeah.
one.
Let's give me 1.5. Okay, give me at least 18 months.
You're slowly turning into me. You've got 3 projects going on right now.
I have 2. Oh.
Not the
Well, the one is kind of that third one is a super secret. It's a double secret probation
you mentioned
project. I have not mentioned it.
You mentioned
in public,
but you didn't say what it was.
I mentioned a super secret
mentioned
double probation. Yeah.
That's why.
That's kind of shelved at this point right now. So I kind of lost interest in it.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5.
Like
Anyway, getting back to the freaking demo here. So little strapping details are amazing when it comes to that. So now we're going to step it up a notch. We did just a simple strip. We did a step strip. Now we're actually going to show you how to make strap detail. And this strapping detail basically wraps around a corner or a bevel. So I love this. I did not develop this, even though, excuse me, even though I use it a lot, I did not develop it. Probably the foremost person that I took inspiration from is a Japanese modeler from back in the early 2000s, Motu Asumi. If you guys are familiar with old vintage Hobby Japans, and listen to me, I'm saying vintage from the early 2000s. He is just one of the best modelers that I took inspiration from. And if you looked at his works compared to my works, you could easily see the similarities. The strapping detail, he was the absolute master of it. He did that probably before anybody. And I saw that and I really, really loved it. And what I mean by strapping, see these almost like gray, like almost landing skids here. See how they wrap around a corner here? That's what I mean by strapping detail. That's what is meant by that particular term. So we're going to show you how to do that. Now, a few things that you're going to need to do this. Obviously, you're going to need strip. A really useful tool to do this particular technique is the flat blade chisel. Again, worth its weight in gold, this flat blade chisel, because what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to start on this side of the shield and wrap it around to the front. So what I need to do is I need to flatten that side piece. I need to flatten that out with this surface, this top surface of the shield, and I'll show you and explain more in detail in just a second, and I'll kind of display what I mean. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a nice beefy strip here of plastic. We're going to go 1 mil. Let's see. Excuse me. Let's find a good one. Maybe by 3.2, maybe by 4. If I can find my 1 mil. 1 by 1. That's not going to work. Here we go. 1 by 4. Bingo. Perfect. That's a winner. What?
No.
Oh. What, you leaving?
No.
What are you doing? What? It's the demo.
We're on lockdown.
This is a demo. No. Okay, so what we're going to do with this, first off, since this end is, I cut this end, this is already a previously used piece, I'm going to square that up and glue someplace. Nothing. You can put it in there. So now that's square, right? So
That's how I walk in like this, and I walk out.
It's a part saver.
Oh
Okay,
no, it's
so,
like that one episode of Family Guy.
So
where
the
Peter
chopper comes with
nest.
2 metal guides, right? This one is 45 and 60, and this other one is more of a stop block because it's got your 90, but then it's got your 30-degree on this side. So this is more used for your stop block to make sure that you have repeatable cuts. This one is, me personally, I use this more for making bevels and things like that. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do with the chopper right now. So we put the arm down, we slide this, we're going to use the 45 side because we're going to make it a 45-degree angle. We're going to slide that all the way up till it touches the blade, and then we're going to lock it in. Just like that. So now, when we chop this down, anything that's resting up against that 45 degree is going to be perfect. So, with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to use a 1 millimeter strip as a guide. With the arm still down, we're going to put that right between that and the stop block, and we're going to shove the stop block all the way till it touches that 1 millimeter strip, and we're going to lock it down. Boom. So now, we have a 1 millimeter gap between the blade and this. So now what it's going to do effectively is it's going to make a 2 millimeter bevel on both of these sides. So what we do, raise the arm up, push that all the way down until the corner hits the stop block, and chop it. And there you go. Okay. See at home? Now, for this particular piece, that's wide. Because I'll show you why in a second here. So I'm going to turn it. What's that?
Push the chopper forward a little bit.
What are you talking about?
The whole
Oh.
thing forward so they can see.
Sorry, people at home. My apologies. We're going to turn it around here. There we go. Okay, cool. So we're going to push that again. Push that 90-degree corner all the way till it touches there, and we're going to chop. Now, as you can see, that left me with a 90-degree point on that particular piece. That's not what we want. That's not Gundam. That's just not the aesthetic that we want. You see, for everybody at home, it's like a fence post almost. So there's 2 things that you can do. You can just slightly cut that tip off, just the tip. And then there you have kind of a flattened top. And see everybody at home? Now I've got a nice little bevel there. Flat there. Everybody? Good. So this is more the Gundam aesthetic, right? And now for this demo, this is what I'm going to use. But under normal circumstances, what I would do, I would clip the whole thing off and start again. And instead of 1 millimeter, I would take a 0.5 millimeter and do it that way. But for the demo, we're trying to be quick. So what we want to do, we're going to find out where on this thing we need to be. This is where a T-square comes into play. Really super useful because you can pop it down right there, and we're going to bring it off. Let's see. We're going to bring it off 3 millimeter from this point. Okay. We're going to mark that with the pencil. So now we have a straight guide to lay this piece down. Now, what we need to do is we need to find out what the width of this is, because we don't want this going the entire width of this particular piece. We want there to be some breathing room, right? So from the looks of it, this looks like 8.5 mil. Yeah, 8.5 millimeters. So we're going to maybe make this. Let's call it 5 millimeters. Just because I think that sounds good. Now, you would want to measure it based off of what your particular need is. But for right now, for demo purposes, I'm just going to call it 5 millimeter. And I think that sounds pretty good. So we're going to raise that up. And with the beveled side, we're going to slide that in there, and we are going to chop ever so gently as it doesn't fly away. And there we go. Excuse me. All right, so now we have a piece. And for those of you at home, now you can probably see that a little bit better. Super small piece. Kind of looks like a badge almost, like a little bitty shield. So we're going to take our tweezers. Now for this, I am going to use super glue just because for the speed of the demo, but normally I would use Tamiya extra thin. So please keep that in mind. Super glue is just for demo purposes only. So it's super glue on here. Perfect. Now, what you need to be careful with is you do not want the entire thing going below the surface that you're going to strap over. So you want some overhang on here. So we're going to place that right there on that line. And that looks good. Now, as you can see, there is definitely overhang there. It's not flush with this surface. Can you see that? Can they see that on here? Yeah. All right, so this is not flush. This is sticking up. So what we need to do is we need to trim that back so this new piece of plastic is flush with the surface of this piece, the piece that we're going to strap over. So what we do first, I just like to take my nippers and just start, just kind of nibble at it a little bit, just to get most of it off of there, because the less work that the blade has to do, the better it's going to do, the better job, and the cleaner that cut is going to be. So we're just going to nibble that away. And now we're going to use the regular hobby knife first, just to try and get a nice kind of thin overhang. Nothing crazy. And this is just kind of rough. This is more rough cutting it right now. There we go. So that looks pretty good. I think I nibbled a little bit too much off of there, but we'll see here in a minute. The good thing about super glue is that it does fill gaps, so we'll keep that in mind. So using the chisel blade, the bevel of the blade is this way, right? This is the flat side. You want to hold it flat side up, because what you're going to do is you're going to have that bevel ride the surface that you're matching, right? So with that, you're going to rest that right on the surface, and you're not going to push hard because you don't want to gouge this into the plastic at all. So you're going to just kind of slice to begin with, just gently, 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 and you'll feel it grab the plastic. And then you might want to do it from the other side too, just to get that nice and flush. Now, you could sand this, you could file it. The problem in that is that if you sand it too much or you file it too much, there's going to be an indent in that surface, and you'll see it. So with this method, you're not going to be removing any material off of that other surface, right? So we're just going to and you just want to kind of slice it. You don't want to push. You just kind of want to slice. So you're just moving the blade back and forth like this, in very, very small increments. Have you guys seen like a meat slicer at the grocery store? Yeah. It's circular, but what it does is it just trims it off, right? That's the same kind of idea that we're doing. We're just trimming this off to make this flush. So again, we're just going to push that along. Let's do a slicing motion here and there, but I think this is looking pretty good so far.
Can you use a 3mm just like you do, or do you have to use it?
You could. It's harder. It's a lot harder that way. This particular blade, because it's wider, the width really helps, because if you only have 3mm on here and you're trying to cut a millimeter piece off the side, you've only got 2mm of wiggle room on that surface. So there's not a lot of stability in that. With this wide blade, you've got a ton of stability, and you can just nibble that 1mm off. So you can see how much, this is basically all the cutting that's involved here. This maybe 1.5mm on the side. That's all that's really cutting. The rest is providing stability, and it's tracking the surface for the rest of it to cut. Okay? So this is nice and flush, and then what we do, we can take like a metal ruler and glide it across here, and if it doesn't catch, it's flush, right? You can also hold it up to the light, and that is pretty damn good. Cool. So we've got the first side of the strap. Now this is only 2 bevels. You can span this across 3 bevels, 4 bevels, however many freaking bevels or corners you want. And the same process ensues as you progress. So for this, we're going to do the same type of thing. I'm not going to bevel the sides of this. I'm just going to cut it flush here, and I'm just eyeballing this. I'm not even measuring. I'm just going to cut it. And since this is the same width as the original piece, we're just going to lay this down right on top, line that up, and now you can start to see the strap come together. So that is going to look pretty good. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get some glue on this puppy and place it. All right, you tired? Good long drive. Sorry, but
what? The tea card. Oh, tea mouse is the.
Oh, we got drinks for days. All right, so what we're going to do, so we've got some glue on here now. Now we're going to place this again. You want there to be a little bit of hangover off the other side, because we need to trim this up flush as well. So let me get the visor down here so I can see what I'm doing. There. Sound effects for fun. Yeah, and it looks like I nibbled a little bit too much off of that first part, because I see a gap in here on one side. But that's okay. That's perfectly fine. That's what they make putty for. That's what they make super glue and baby powder for, and all those fun
baby
filler
powder
stuff. Yeah,
Super glue and baby powder makes the plate.
yeah, makes a filler. You didn't know that, Marquise?
I
didn't know
Man, gotta get you some learning. Gotta put you through boot camp, son. What's that?
I use one.
Isn't cornstarch
really fast?
Is that
Pretty much any powder will work. I don't know. It's kind of expensive, but hey.
What kind of powder are you talking about here, Paul?
The hell with the monster. Let's go all in.
Oh my. For those of you at home, we do not endorse the use of illegal narcotics or alcohol in any way, shape, or form. So please abide by your laws and local jurisdictions and rules and stuff. So stay safe, everybody. All right, so yeah, don't do drugs. They're bad. Okay, so back to the demo. So we got this overhang here again. So we're going to trim that back to make that flush with the other piece. So nibble it with the nippers first, just to clear out most of that. We've got it looking pretty good. So I'm going to go straight to the chisel blade here with this. Now this is going to be a little bit trickier because you don't have as much real estate to make to help you guide this blade. So this is the crucial step. This is where you marry up the two pieces. So this is a little tricky right now. So what you're going to do, same technique, that same kind of back and forth slicing action, but you need to be super careful. And this blade could probably stand to be a little sharper. I think I've been using this blade a little too long. But it's getting the job done, and that's what's important. And now, when you get to this side, that's where the danger comes in, because if you push this or you mess up or something, that could blow out that entire corner. And then you need to fill it, which is just a bad scenario. If you don't blow out the corner, that is the ideal situation. So what I do is I come on the other side and start to nibble that other side away, so that prevents that corner from blowing out. Pretty good. Looking good. All right. So we've got a pretty nice form there so far. We still need to do a little fine tuning on it because it's not flush, it's not flat just yet. Again, the problem that you run into, if you sand too much, you round over those corners. You want to keep those corners as crisp as possible if you're not beveling the piece. And even if you are beveling the piece, you want to keep those corners crisp, because if you round them over too much, then there's no way that bevel's going to hide that round over, and it's going to kind of undulate and everything. So you want to keep the corners intact as much as possible. So we're getting very close to smooth glass. Now I'm just getting really thin shavings off now, so that tells me that I'm super close to this being perfect. So just spin it around. Let's do the other side just real quick. Make sure the blade is the right orientation. Yeah, I'm hard to pull anything coming off this piece. So I'm going to push through. Make sure that your fingers are out of the way of this, because if this slips and you push this into your hand, that's going to be a bad day for you.
Yeah, it hurts.
It's going to be a very, very bad day, because a flat blade going into your skin is much different from you slicing it with a sharper, pointed.
Unless it rolls off the table and it hits you on the foot.
Well, that could happen.
That happened to me.
I keep all my sharp objects like away, so I try to avoid that as much as possible. All right, so right now this is pretty flat. There's a gap here because I nibbled off a little bit too much from that first one. So what I would normally do is fill that with putty, maybe use some super glue if it's super thin, kind of like this. This is probably a good candidate for putty or for super glue right here. But what I'm going to do for demo's sake right now is just kind of finish it off for you guys so you can see the end product here. So I'm going to try to grab one of these little files here. These little flat files, that's not it. That'll work. This one will work. Okay, cool. And we're basically just lightly filing this down. And we're just trying to marry up these two surfaces so they basically become one to the eye. And that is pretty damn good. Pretty close. Yeah. Alright. So if you've done it correctly, everything should be nice and square and even, because especially on the sides, that's where it's crucial. Placement is crucial with this, because if this top strap is off to one side, you'll see it. You'll see it for days. So placement is absolutely key. But that is essentially how you make a strapping detail.
If you wanted to bevel the size of the strap itself, would you
Yeah.
have done it before you put it on or after?
You can do it before. I personally like to do it after, because what I'll do with the strap is take a chisel. That's way too big. 0.15. So what I'll do is I'll take my chisel that I use to make panel lines and everything, and I will chisel outline around the strap to make it look like a separated detail. Because once you go to panel line that'll kind of give a faux shadow to it, and then that will make it look like it's separated from the piece. After you do that outline chisel, you've got a little bit of wiggle room to get like a super sharp blade in here, and then just go to work, kind of just scraping that bevel off. Now, if you use a specific beveling tool, like, what is it, the Alexan tool I think has been floating around?
Adhesives has one of those.
Like a scraper.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to be able to use a scraping tool if it's already on there. So yeah, you would want to do it before, but with this kind of strap over technique, it's a little bit hard because you're going to need to kind of measure that angle first, which makes it honestly almost impossible. So,
so you just like soften the edges so it matches what's in the plastic.
Actually, I mean, I will do a hard bevel with just scraping with a hobby knife. I know you guys, I'm doing it away from the camera, and I apologize for everybody at home. So what I'm doing here is just, and this is a bad posture for me, but basically just scraping, and I am much more meticulous in a real world scenario than this, but this is just basically to illustrate an idea. Now, once this thing is dried and cured, once the glue is set and everything, you should be able to come in here and bevel this side and there not be any dips in the plastic. And if that's doing it right now, because that glue is perfectly set up, and that will form a perfect bevel and blend those two pieces together.
And in that scale, like 35 degrees to 45 degrees is not visible as high,
You're never going to know the difference between a 45-degree angle and
right? So you
35
don't have to
degree
be extremely precise.
Yeah, no. And honestly, once you do kind of a scraping bevel, you'll get the feel of it, and you'll know what looks right and what looks wrong. Because I don't use beveling tools at all, ever. But most of the strap details on both of these models are hand scraped, like especially around the corners of the Gundam Bird Logic here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, I scraped it first, and then I went back with like a sanding block just to even make sure it's even and square and perpendicular and all those other fancy terms. Yeah, I just scrape it. It's so much easier that way. So what's up?
Beveling.
Rounded edges. Beveling rounded edges.
So like, I'm trying to figure out.
Not like obviously like super round, but
Like something like this.
the edges of like this way.
Okay.
If I wanted to bevel that, would you hand bevel that?
Where at? Like the corners?
The lower this hole. See like this edge that's kind of rounded.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, would you do that by hand?
Yeah.
Yeah, just with the knife and
Yes,
just
absolutely. Yeah.
So
So
if you're
count
gonna
your
flatten it out,
strokes, I guess.
if you're gonna flatten it out, I'd probably sand the surfaces smooth or putty
Yeah.
them, and then bevel it.
Okay, yeah,
Because
that's what I want to do.
I think if you're looking to sharpen it, yeah.
Okay.
But I think if you just kind of go in,
Right.
you might make like weird angles.
you could.
Right, I guess
you need a.
You just gotta be
gentle
careful.
touch.
Right.
Yeah, you need
kind
a
of want to
gentle
think
touch.
where you kind of count how many passes you do so that it's even, I guess.
Yeah, you definitely need a gentle touch.
Yeah.
So basically, for those of you at home that couldn't see off camera, so basically, This is the same type of thing. So what we're doing is we're dealing with this type of kind of convex kind of shape here, and it forms like a corner here. So basically what the intent is just basically just going in and just scraping that down. And you just want to follow the natural curve of it. And you're not taking a ton of plastic off. You're just sharpening the corner of that. And then, you can feel kind of that's much sharper now. There's corners around the bevels and everything. So
That's what I'm kind of going to do.
yeah. And if you are really particular about it, another technique that you can use. I don't have a big piece of plastic tube here, but what you can do is let's see. Okay, so what I've done in the past is taken like a plastic tube, and I usually use like a bigger diameter tube, like a probably 11, 12 millimeter wide tube. But this is good for example. Wrap your sandpaper around like that, so you have a curve style surface, right? And then just do that, right? Now, mind you, you got to be super careful when it comes to this because you can hardly see what's on the other side, what's going on the other side of that tool, right? So you don't know exactly where that's going at any time. So it's a little bit tougher in my experience, but that's another option.
It would be another case of like just little by little.
Yeah, just nibble it. Yeah, just nibble it. Yeah, and that's with any of these things. You don't want to go full bore. You want to sneak up on it. Yeah. You want to nibble at the plastic. You want to just take little bits because putting the plastic on or putting putty on is much harder than taking it away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So easy strapping detail, super nice. It's a good look. So from that, let's take a look at some half rounds real quick. What are we looking at time? Cool, still got some time. We started late, so we're gonna go a little bit later too. Just to give you guys, good bang for your buck. All right, so let's use 1 millimeter round. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to simulate that these rounded ribs right here on the Gundam version logic. It's a pretty common aesthetic in terms of Gundam and everything. It's subtle, but it's common. You will see it on a bunch of different mechs. They don't use it a lot, but they use it commonly. Let's put it that way. What's wrong? Got you. All right. So what we did is we cut a piece of 1 millimeter half round. This is just a half of a styrene rod, flat on one side, completely round on the other. So what we do to basically make this rounded over on both sides is I just take a piece of sandpaper, hold it in my hand, and I start to sand the corners first, right? just to get that round look started, and then just work my way around. And that, at this scale, you're never going to tell if that's completely circular or not. It's just impossible to tell. But you're going to be gentle with sanding down. You're just going to make that as round as you possibly can. And again, you're just going to nibble at it. You're just going to sneak up on it. And now, that is hard to see, obviously, but that is now rounded. As opposed to, shoot, that would be bad, right? If I dropped it on the floor. Okay, so, as you can see, one side is square, one side is rounded. Everybody see that? Okay, so, we're going to do the same thing real quick with the other side. And this doesn't take a lot of time, and this isn't a precise, you don't have to be super precise with this or anything. This is just, you're just eyeballing this. This is meant to be easy. And this is easy. This is just simple. All this stuff, it does take a little bit of time, you know, and it's all about your level of meticulousness. So now, both of these ends are rounded. So for everybody at home, I don't know if you can see that or not, but trust in my word is that both of these ends are now rounded. So now the problem is that since it was cut at a 90-degree angle, you have a 90-degree corner at the top of that circular shape. So what we need to do is we need to take the sandpaper again and just kind of round that over now.
The 400 grit or
Whatever. This is 320. I just had it in my thing here. Let's do something different. I don't know what this is, but this is much finer than 320. So, like I said, this is not a meticulous type of thing. Cutting and measuring, obviously, you want to be meticulous, but this is just eyeballed, completely 100%. And that's all those were too. Those were cut to length, measure-wise, and I was super meticulous with the cutting of those. But rounding them over, all it takes is just eyeballing it. Super easy. Because instead of maintaining a bevel or a sharp corner, you actually want to round this over. You want this to sand down. You want this to become fuzzy and blurred, if you will. So now, if we did it right, now both ends are, instead of circular, now they're more spherical in shape, right? So we apply this. Now, within the Gundam aesthetic, it's common to see these repeated in 2 or 3, or it's common to see them on like a shield or something like that, straight down the middle, kind of like this molded in detail on this GMC shield. That's common as well. What I think I will do with this, we'll grab the tweezers here. Let me see what this looks like. No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Okay, so what would kind of be interesting is maybe having them on, the mirror on both sides of this. It could be kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is, with the evergreen plastic, the half round, there is a little dip on the back side of the half round that you do have to kind of account for. So what I like to do is just give it a little light scraping on this side, just to flatten that side out even more.
Why not go in the opposite direction to the sanding tip from the bottom, and then just do a light, like sanding it right from the bottom in?
You absolutely could. The problem that you are going to run into is grip. How do you hold on to this and slide it across sandpaper? That's the tough part, especially at this size. Now, if you're using 2mm, 3mm, that's something that's easier to grip with your fingers all day. Yeah. But with something like this, since it's so small, you have to grip it where you can. You know what I mean? So we're just flattening that out so the glue catches a little bit better. And again, I'm going to use super glue on this. I'm not using to me extra thin at all. Sorry for everybody at home.
For that size, you definitely can use it so thin for that.
Oh, absolutely, but for the demo, just for speed. That's what I'm. Sorry, All right, so we got this flat on that side. What's that?
Yeah, new quick set extra thin.
Do they?
Yeah.
Just came out.
I really love
That's got it.
I really love the plastic magic.
That's a good one.
I still haven't tried.
Look at that.
That's a good
Extra thin, quick setting. You mind?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do a live product testing here.
We can open it.
Yeah, there we go.
Set the lid.
They got it on there. They got it on there.
Well,
tight.
quick.
It works.
Set
Quick
really
set the
quick.
lid. Yeah. Jesus. All right.
What's
So
that on it? I don't know. That's not mine, right?
it might be mine.
No, I can't.
I'll give
I think it's
you
probably around
whatever
$5,
Tim's gonna give you for it. I'll
$5.
give you $2 more.
We got a bidding war.
Bidding
for this
war
stuff.
from-
All right. So let's see what we got here.
Probably is what
You
would
can just
happen.
order more.
All right. So again, as you guys have seen, I just kind of touched this with the blade, and yes, okay. So that did not set completely because if you look, see, I can wiggle it at the bottom there. That means there's no glue under there to grip that. So with something like
set too quick.
maybe it's set too damn quick. Yeah. Maybe Tamiya's too good at this stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of this quick setting stuff, and we're just going to run it down the side. Now with capillary action, that's gonna run under that piece.
It is strong. I can smell it.
Can you?
I can smell from back here.
Yeah.
It's strong.
It's really good.
I can't smell anything real
I guess so.
I can't smell anything.
I
I just sneezed out my sense of smell.
It smells. That means it's working.
I think I got some dust.
Oh,
in that.
So, now, obviously, if this starts to melt this strip, it's not a big deal because it's rounded anyway, right? Yeah, a little bit too much. Okay. Whoopsie. All right. So what we're gonna do in that case is not touch it with our thumb like a freaking gorilla, and we're gonna use the metal ruler here to
Nice
gently press that down.
And texture.
Yeah, that's not what I'm going for. and then there you go. Obviously, in real world scenario, I would be much more careful. Thank you. That might have said a little bit too quick initially. So that's super messy, obviously. But that's a nice rounded, half round strip detail that we've got going here. And what I would do is repeat that on this side so you have a matching set so it's nice and symmetrical. Cool? Make sense? Everybody good? Good? Sweet. All right, so that is, those 4 techniques with plastic strip, you can now mix and match all of these together, blend them together, use them individually, all sorts of different things, and just go hog wild with these. So like the foot here on the upper foot, this is just simple strip detail, but in different sizes, widths, things like that, thicknesses. So basically the same as this, and I just put 3 together, beveled just the front edge of each, and that makes that detail. So it's the combination of these techniques that go to make good detail, right? So right here, you've got 2 little blocks of plastic. I think those are maybe 3/4 inch thick by probably 2 inches or 2 millimeters. And then I beveled them on both sides, and then I've got a 1 millimeter half round in between, just to give it variation, right? Because I didn't want everything square, right? So again, strap detail in different varieties mixed together and in different techniques really goes a super long way to make nice simple detail. You think you guys can handle that? Yeah.
No. There's one in every crowd.
Every party
Take 'em
needs a
out.
Cooper, that's why they invited you.
Man. Get out of here, monkeys. All right, so that concludes the plastic strip portion of our demos. So let's move on to adding maybe some detail with some of these here. You can get really crazy with adding plastic bits to your piece. mantra of less is more usually comes into play when adding detail parts. Because if you see a piece that has a ton of detail parts on them, you will see those first. And if they're surface mounted, if there's no variation in height, you will see that. And that will jump out at you. You may not necessarily know exactly what is wrong with it just by looking at it, but you know just by looking at it that just looks weird, right?
Bedazzling.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like plastic bedazzling. So,
Some people just do too much.
yeah. So, with these types of things, you want to kind of pick and choose your battles. So, like on the just a foot here, like I just added this little minus mold on the side here. The reason why I made it, I placed it there, is because that is the rotation point for the ankle armor. So watch, as I rotate it, see how that doesn't move? That stays there. So that simulates a cap for that rotation mechanism. So for those of you guys at home, watch the minus mold, it doesn't move. See? Because that's over top of that rotation.
Have to get a little closer.
Oh, there, see? All right. No. All right, so sorry everybody at home. So you can see that minus mold doesn't move at all because it's literally over top of that pivoting point. So that makes sense to use a minus mold there. If you have a pivot point, it's just common. Even on standard model kits, especially with the knees and the arm joints, you're going to see these detail pieces. And these, basically, this is almost like a copy of a Kotobukiya piece that they make. Does it? You have to?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see, look at that. Boom. Yeah.
Just a little bigger.
Same thing, it's just bigger. Yeah, it's a common mechanical detail in terms of mechanical robots. Very, very common.
And the common use for these is people will take them off their high-grade kits and you chop them off and sand it smooth.
Yeah.
They'll paint this separately. Leave them in.
Pop them up, yeah.
Because this one might be a different height, or maybe the recessed detail looks nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So these details on pivot points, you're going to see those everywhere. Like on the ankles. Oh yeah, look on the junky Zaku leg. Yeah. See, there's the circular detail right there at the knee joint. It's just a common aesthetic in terms of Gundam. Yeah, and here's the traditional minus mold. This is the minus mold right here, with that little kind of minus subtract symbol on it. That's the OG original gangster detail piece that everybody used back in the day. So that's the one that started the minus mold, naming convention, if you will. But again, super common detail, and that's what you want to look for. If you have a pivoting point with no pivoting detail, it's a perfect place to put to add these plastic detail pieces in and take advantage of that. So like for the Justa ankle here, I just scribed that in, but for anybody that has built the master grade Justa, this piece is insanely soft plastic. I hate it.
It's the whole
polystyrene.
Yeah, it's just
When they
polystyrene.
when they moved to New Gundam, they started using that frame.
Yeah.
That was like the second kit.
It's it's a softer plastic than the outer armor and some of the other inner frame parts.
You can kind of the whole runner. You can kind of
you can flex it. Yeah. The problem with it is that it's very hard to scribe. The scriber will jump. No matter how meticulous you are, your scriber just jumps and stutters.
The main benefit of that plastic.
Yeah, yeah. It's super easy to gouge too.
I think the whole
because
benefit
it's
of
soft.
the soft plastic, was for like joints and stuff. That was the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, and that's
sort of
why it's
moving
you know, the,
smoother
the
joints
angle.
without using polycaps.
Yeah.
Try to clear it up with a knife and then just
Yeah,
piece
it's
out.
really
Yeah, and that's the danger of it. So what I think I'm going to do, because I don't like the looks of these scribes, what I think I might do is, and I actually brought it today to show you guys, because this is a cool little technique. Oh, where is it? Here it is. Okay, so that used to be that. See the height difference?
You say no.
No.
Oh.
Nope, I did not. I cut it.
Oh, you just cut
I cut it. Yep.
the detail off.
There's the jig that I made.
I saw this right up. Yeah.
But I did the same thing with the Spartan.
That's right.
This is a different jig that I've never showed
right.
anybody, but now you guys obviously are seeing it. So, what you do is you take a piece of plastic as your base, glue another piece of plastic with the diameter hole of your part, glue those two together, obviously glue a relief spot in the back so you can pop that out very easily if you need to. So that just pops right out. So there you go. And that's all that it is. I mean, it's just a, yeah. And so you just slot that in there. And then you take your favorite little teardrop hobby saw and you just go to town spinning that around, going back and forth until it releases, and then you get a perfectly, I can grab it out of the damn thing, you get a perfectly shortened minus mold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 4 of these and laminate over top of that so I get a nice crisp detail, and I don't have to worry about that shitty soft plastic anymore. So that's that's an easy tip. So if you needed to say if you needed to scribe a line around this, you could use the same jig and take your chisel, if you can find it. Here it is. And this is what I did with the Spartan. You can just ride this surface around and scribe in a line around that piece. So that's super useful when you have to make kind of repeated cuts or scribes on circular pieces like that. So that's uses of jigs are very common in woodworking. They should be a lot more common in plastic modeling, but they're just not.
It's the next trend. I can see that.
I mean, yeah, it just makes sense, you know?
The first time I saw them was when the Easy SR came out.
Yeah.
There was this Japanese modeler who bought all 3 and was scribing a bunch of details on them. Built jigs for his all the different scribes. And he was like, well, I scribed 6 legs, so I guess I might as well,
Oh,
I mean, I was just making perfect sense. Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Armor modelers use it for the track links.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Try to do that individually and keep it
Right.
straight. You can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have a headache.
Yeah.
You're going to practically go
It's
insane.
like over
if you
200
try.
links in one kit. Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah. So, all right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you kind of a nice usage of some of these detailed parts. We're not going to put thrusters on a shield. That just doesn't make freaking sense.
Just put like a minus mold in the middle of the shield, you know?
Yeah, I'm not into that.
Chop that up.
I'm gonna put like okay, so what I've got here are different plates. No vents either. No circular. Minus mold.
From the shield.
Yeah, right. What are you exhausting from a shield? Like, come on.
The heat of the enemy's attack.
Yeah. All right, Dragon Ball.
Wow.
Going hard on that theory there, buddy. All right, so I've got several different flavors of different panels, and then also one with smaller minus molds. So we're going to utilize these. So let's see. I really want to, you see this indentation right here, this area where it cuts into the top level of the shield. I like that area, and that needs detail in my opinion. One thing that you could do is you could use plate and do something like kind of like that, and then wrap that over almost like with a strapping technique, and make that a built-up, make that like a raised panel, right? That's one thing that you could do. That's just an idea. But if you didn't want to go that route, maybe put like one of these plates on here. With this one, it comes with these vented plates. It also comes with these X-style kind of safety plates almost. So those are kind of cool. And you want to try to have some breathing room in there. And another thing is, don't be afraid to use two in unison too. Because if you use like two small ones across here, where's that one? That one you were gonna hand it to? Yeah, that one. So you can see, like with this piece, this is a Bandai. What is this? It's the builder part. Oh, okay. Okay. These aren't bad. I don't like those. That's just nice shape right there. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. But what I was going to make an example. You see how this has like a repeating a pattern and a shape? And that looks normal, right? It doesn't look weird. It is what it is. So you can do that same type of thing with these. Say you wanted to, I don't know. Say you wanted to use these two little X safety panels here. You can put one down here, and then you can put one a little bit higher up. And let's do it. Let's go crazy. Let's do that. So nipper. There we go. All right. So let's cut them out here. We're gonna leave a little bit of room. Good discipline on the cutting. Leave some nub on it. Everybody loves some nub. Everybody loves nubs. I like a 10-piece nubbit.
What that means?
10-piece nubbit.
I get it.
With hot mustard sauce or barbecue sauce? Come on, man. Hot mustard.
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Hot mustard.
The creamy sriracha.
Hot mustard. I got dad jokes for days, people. I got dad jokes for days. You don't know.
Is he even a dad or what?
I am a dad.
Okay.
All right, so let's. Look, these are jumping all over the place here. Like a jumping bean. All right, so here we go. We're gonna trim up the nubs.
I actually used to make that joke in
All right,
school all the time.
These are squared. Let's get this other one squared up here real quick. I know this isn't very exciting, but it is part of the process.
Just a Mecha or Super Glue?
Either one. I think for this demonstration, I will be using Tamiya Extra Thin because I don't exactly know where I want to put these just yet. So I'm gonna kind of play with it. All right, so we've got these two, and they're pretty cleaned up. I would probably clean them a little bit more, make sure the edges are flush and everything. And there's Brax.
No.
Somebody go in front of the mirror and say Gundam Nerd 3 times.
Yeah, right?
Like the Beatles.
Alright, so we're gonna kiss that with a little bit of glue here. We're gonna pop these on. Let's see what we got. We're gonna right, it's about there. I think that looks good. Let's make sure that it is parallel with that bottom bevel here, right? This angle right here. We're gonna make sure that that's parallel. We're just gonna eyeball it right here. Press that down, it's looking good. I didn't use too much glue this time, thankfully. Alright, so now we're going to do the second one. And now this could look good. This could go spectacularly wrong.
That's why you're doing it.
That's why we're testing. It's all about customization, man, and it's trial and error. When you get into customization, there's no rule book. There is no instruction manual. It is all free form.
a zombie head on a.
The life has an instruction manual.
I mean,
I really
hey,
want to.
whatever floats your boat, man. You know, I mean,
Yeah, it's all trial and error. So I mean,
think about it. Life has an instruction manual.
okay,
Great point. Let me know when you find it.
all right.
No,
So
just genetically coded.
okay, so there's that, right?
There you go.
So that looks kind of cool. I don't necessarily love it at this point, and I'll tell you why. Because these are need to go. I'm just going to scrape off this wall, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit better to it. Now, obviously, I could use an eraser, but I don't have a freaking eraser right now. Anybody got an eraser? I didn't think so. No.
Pencils have erasers on them.
No.
Just throwing that out there.
All right,
Trial and error.
everybody. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
No.
Trial and error.
Yeah, hey, trial and error. Good job.
Thanks for that. Justin, I appreciate that, bud. We'll get you next time.
We got a show next week, don't we?
oh, football?
We got a show.
I think so.
Yeah, we got a show next week. All right, so what instead of an angled look, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that line straight down. Oh yeah, and see, as I drop it, this is looking much better. And this goes to show you that just the angle of panel lines in association with added detail makes a huge aesthetic difference. Because what I'm simulating here, just with the pencil, I'm not going to scribe these lines in, but see how much better that looks now?
Yeah.
With these squared, just straight 90-degree lines. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
That looks so much better. Yeah, exactly. It looks like they are meant now to be there, right? So that is a perfect example of panel lines going in relation to your details. They go together synonymously, okay? So if you go about scribing new panel lines, something to think about. If you don't, look at the existing panel lines on the kit and kind of play off those too. So
there's really a hard, fast rule for like chicken versus egg in that scenario. You want to put your bits down first, and then your panel lines, or
maybe,
do you want to?
maybe blue tack them.
Right.
yeah,
You think about it.
Now, mind you, this
Come
blue,
back after a nice.
but this
nice,
blue
nice
hasn't.
nap.
Yeah, this blue hasn't set though yet.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have to sand it, and you might as well just let it sit there.
Dude, this is customizing. This isn't babyface building that we're doing here. This is real deal
Do I look
hardcore.
like a baby face build?
But you do have baby face.
Somewhere.
Anyway.
It's underneath the beard.
Oh my. All right, so that is a good example of how to just add detail bits to the surface, just the surface of it. So what I think I'm going to do now is get a little crazy with the strap. We're gonna use a plastic bit here because I don't want to waste a metal bit. All right, so that's 4 millimeters. So we're going max 2 millimeter on this, right? We're gonna put that. No, we're gonna go a little bit smaller. We need it to fit. Yeah, I think that's good. So that is what? That's 2 millimeter. Okay, cool. So 2 millimeter is that. Okay, cool. So what I'm just trying to do right now is figure out what drill bit size I need since my drill bit cheat sheet is at home. We're gonna go 0775. 0775. 0775. 0775. 0775. 078. That'll work. Okay, so this is roughly 2 mil. This drill bit here, and we're gonna make sure it fits in the chuck first. Probably won't, but we need a smaller chuck for this one. No, that actually fits. All right, rock and roll. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to add like a rivet style detail to this side of the strapping detail. So right there. So to make it look like it's connected, if you will. So right now I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to call that roughly center of that. Yeah, looks good enough. All right, so same as before with the sewing pin detail. We're going to notch a guide hole here real quick with our general scriber, just as a pilot. We're going to work that around, widen that out just a little bit. All right, so now we got our drill bit, we got our pilot hole. Now we go to, and again, we're just nibbling at this plastic. We're sneaking up on it. We're not going too deep because we don't want it to go crazy. We want to make sure that this hole is fairly centered. If this was a real world scenario, I would be absolutely meticulous about this right now. And I would measure and measure and measure and make sure everything's centered. And I would go super slow, but right now for demo purposes, this is I'm going pretty damn fast. All right, so we want it deep enough so that this little piece can fit in. So what we're going to do is use a 2mm little minus mold here. We're going to cut some nub action going on there. Looking for nubs in all the wrong places. Alright. Anybody remember that song? I know you probably do. Alright. I'm not the only one here. Eddie Murphy. You don't know about that, you need to look it up, youngsters. Right?
And he was nutty, Professor.
Delirious?
I'm gonna be every character in all my movies.
Right? Alright. So again, since you're dealing with a super small piece here, it's tricky. You gotta be very careful, you gotta be very meticulous about this. You gotta be super accurate.
Just chop it.
Dude, you know, and since this is a demo, I'm being like straight up caveman with this thing. I am being like,
I don't know, Tim. I would have had it on there by now.
well, yeah, well.
If you want the full caveman, he needs the back of those strips.
So now we've got this piece. Let's line it up. Let's see if it fits. Yeah, bingo. That's money right there. Perfect fit. Okay, cool. So secure that. We're gonna put a little bit of glue on there. We're just gonna the excess off of there. We're just gonna kiss it with a little bit of glue. Bada boom.
Would you see the strap on you with the knife?
No. I mean, because you're not.
If you get in there like real hard,
The primer and then the flat coat, you don't see it yet.
And you're not. And I'm not gouging into it either. You know. So there. That is now recessed in there.
You gotta put details on your details.
You gotta put details.
And that's how you win GBW.
Yeah. You gotta put details on details.
Then you gotta scribe that.
No, you gotta make a bayformer right there.
Yeah.
First you gotta make a bayformer.
So now that strap looks like it's bolted on, right? It looks reinforced. It looks, you know, heavy duty. It looks military. So that's a perfect example of recessing something in an already existing detail. So combination of all of these things together, that's what you get. So perfect stuff there. All right. So let's keep going. Let's do a little bit of metal work. And then what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little bit of time with each of you.
Everybody leave? We're here.
No, we're here. All right.
Everybody hates us.
Boring, right? All right. So where do we go? Okay. So I'm going to use one of these little rectangular pieces. Now, the cool thing with the Steel Spirit, the AW Steel Spirit line, is that with these, they actually give you a teeny tiny little scribing guide along with the parts. So that right there is your scribing guide for this size strap right here. You see that? So that you're looking at 4 by 1 millimeter. So it's 4 millimeters long by 1 millimeter thickness for these particular pieces. So you use a 1 millimeter chisel, and then you scribe within this guide, and then you can recess these pieces. Now you don't necessarily have to do that. You don't have to use these things. They actually provide them for you for ease of use, which is a really, really, really nice feature of the Steel Spirit line, and that's why I like them so much. Not as much as Haikyuu, but a very, very close second. So what we're going to do now is let's add some photo etch details. Get a little crazy. What? Nah, on the shield, man. Come on, come on, fool. Psycho Frame GL. Shit, Psycho Frame Jesus over here, bro. All right. Oh, actually, no, I'm going to use these because they need junk. I don't want to use the other stuff. I'm going to use the junk.
You ever use their shredding tools?
What?
The shredders they have like curved guides.
Oh, yeah, I've seen they're coming out.
Yeah, that one has
things,
them.
right?
That Canon has them in store.
Yeah.
So like I tried them, they're pretty good.
Yeah. There's a company, and the name escapes me right now. I'm sure someone in the chat will probably know the name of it, but they make a miniature French curve set, and they have one. No, it's a very obscure company.
Oh, I don't. Okay.
Yeah, it's an obscure Japanese company. All right, so what I am now noticing is that these have dates, so I'll use this stuff. This doesn't have dates on them, so simple. Metal photo etch detail. These don't have gates, so they're just held on by adhesive tape. So you can just peel these right off. Now, mind you, these don't have adhesive on the back, right? So you're going to have to super glue these parts into place. So what I do is set them down like this. I do not use these to handle those under normal circumstances. What I like to do, and hopefully I can find it, if not, I will make a new one very, very quickly, is I use... Okay, so I use, this is basically blue tack, obviously, but it's yellow, and a sewing pin. So, what up? Yeah, I stock up.
And that's what I got.
Yeah, I stock up. And that's the beauty of Taobao, because those are super cheap. Okay, so what I do is I use a little pin, and I wrap some of this super tack, this kind of blue tack, yellow tack, whatever color tack you want to use, around the head. So now, what happens is that is going to pick up that piece just like that. Super easy.
That's a cool technique.
Yeah. Super easy. See, everybody at home picks it up, holds it, and since you're using super glue to affix these, that tack is not going to adhere to that super glue. That's a cool technique.
I think Kevin Link too with his parts.
I don't know. I just kind of thought of it. I'm not saying that I made it up or anything. I'm not gonna, be that guy and
I'll
say,
take credit for it.
I made this. Shut. Nah, that's not me.
I
Man. That's not me.
Sticky tack.
Yeah, no, that's not me. That's not me. All right, so you got some super glue on here now. Now you got to place it on. Right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place it right above this little strip here in this little area. Right here. Now you gotta be super careful. And what I would normally do under normal circumstances is to draw a guideline. But that actually, it looks okay. It's not perfect. It's not squared, but for demo purposes, it's good enough. So there it is. Now it's affixed. It's not going anywhere. It will never go anywhere.
No.
You see? Yeah, because it's super glue. And the size of this piece, it's just not going to. It's not going to jump off of there unless you really start to scratch it. Now, these two are the same exact size. Obviously, you can see contrast on this a little bit better than here. So just surface mounted, very, very simple. And it just is a cool little detail. It's so small that it enhances that illusion of scale, right?
And of course, you don't have to do it. You can do it before or after painting.
Yeah, absolutely. You could super glue this right to your paint job if you were incredibly careful.
Yeah.
You don't want super glue squirting out the side of your part onto your nice finished paint job. Very dangerous. So you have to be just incredibly careful when you do it after the fact.
Yeah. That's why you want to put super glue down and kind of You only want enough that it's on there.
Yeah, you just want to kiss it. You don't want to tongue kiss it. You know. You don't want to go and just squirt glue on the thing. You know?
Well, these are awesome little things.
What are those?
They're little glue loopers. You put one little bead of super glue on that.
But these even are a little too big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're huge.
These even the smallest one is a look. I mean, look at that compared to that.
There's that little plastic one with a little feather type sponge on it. Yeah. Those are like really small. I've only tried it with these glues. I haven't tried it with super glue.
Fly hair.
Yeah. Using your little pin holder, turn it around. There's your glue applicator right there.
I think the Mad
double purpose. Yeah. I mean, look at that. So you got a super fine little pinhead, right? And then what you're gonna do? You're just gonna spurt out a little bit of super glue.
You call pinhead?
You're a pinhead, dude. And boom, you just want just enough on there. Just to make contact with it. You don't want to taunt, right? And now watch that. Boom. If it can hold that pin on there, cantilever it all like that, it's gonna hold this little minute part on there, no problem. See what I mean? So, everybody at home? I mean, hey, it kind of illustrated the point. You know, you kind of got it a little bit, maybe. So that's looking pretty good. That's photo etch. You can recess it. You can surface mount it. There's all sorts of options that you can do. There's one. They have like grab-ons that are awesome. This AW Steel Spirit.
Is it the one that's like a triangle, but it's like the latches?
Those definitely are cool.
Because I put that on my.
These right here. These three are just super nice. These are the grab-ons that I was talking about. These are more rectangular, I should say, and kind of trapezoidal too. So for those of you at home, super nice. 095 is the sheet number. These are great. Also too, these are cool details here because what you do, you use these kind of winglet type of shapes. You bend them so that this little piece makes like an L shape, but then there's you can see this little teeny tiny just bar. You glue that to the other side so it looks like a hooking point, for like an airlift type of thing. Same thing with this, but just in a different shape. So for those of you playing at home, 087. Can you see that? Yeah,
it's
a little bit. There we go. No? Maybe? Okay. Sorry, everybody at home, but Steel Spirit AW 087 is the number. Very, very good stuff. And then also 088. Highly recommended. Very, very good. I like those looks. Those are going to be, I'm using those on the Justa definitely by the end of the build. So those are very useful. So, with that being said, that kind of shows you what kind of detail you can achieve very simply with very, very little material and tools. So now, what we want to do is we want to come around and snuck up on me. We want to come around to each one of you guys and kind of help you get ideas, maybe some brainstorming on your particular kits. And help you kind of come up with ideas to detail your kits. Now, obviously, all of you got strips and a runner of the Bandai parts. So if you want to start, feel free, because that's why we gave them to you today. But for those of you at home, obviously this is where the class is essentially going to end because there's no more demos, and I don't think you guys want us to show